The whole wild tale kicks off in the Ringdaram kingdom. In the very heart of Astrian, the capital city, a guard suddenly spots trouble closing in, and his whole world starts to spiral into panic. He roars at the top of his lungs, shouting that the demon lord's army is finally attacking. A nearby soldier bursts into the chaos, screaming that this is a power led by one of the demon lord's generals, then barks orders for his squad to intercept them. While the soldiers charge toward the front lines, a woman stays behind, clutching her prayers, begging God to guard their souls. On the battlefield, a young swordsman staggers for breath, and you can practically feel the fight weighing down his bones. He glares at the dead monster at his feet, and the horror hits. He's only been scraping by with the lowly lesser demons. Still, he admits it's brutally hard. He can't spot any real opening in their defenses, and it's like searching for a crack in armor. One of the fighters right next to him nods and says, "Yeah, this kind of power is exactly what you'd expect from an army backed by a real general." Then this blonde dude spins around with a huge grin, like everything's totally fine and nothing even happened. The moment the soldiers clock something else in the dark, the mood flips on a dime, because they're not alone, not at all, and they know it. Finally, here they come, the legendary crew everyone's been counting down for, and the crowd erupts as people scream, "They're here, the wait is over." And out in front, there's Hero 11, totally calm, like a whole monster army doesn't even faze him. He almost laughs at the audacity of it. This demon general is trying to raid his city, while a hero like him is right there. Garius catches the look on his face and calls it out. Levin's actually grinning like the fight is exactly what he wanted. But Sage Knoll shuts that down hard. She tells Garius to take this seriously, or she'll watch him die. Garius just shrugs it off with a laugh and admits it's his fault, while Pal can only sigh at how ridiculously laid back everyone is. But the group's youngest member snaps his fist shut and assures them it's going to be okay. With pure hype coursing through them, they fired off a bold shout. "With all 5 of us together, we can crush any enemy." The 18-year-old merchant practically crackles with energy, barking at the pros that they've got one job: protect every single soul in town. Garius bursts into laughter and lands a rough smack on Wish, teasing that the kid talks like a hero, yet he's honestly pretty weak. But Knoll isn't laughing. She shuts down the jokes fast, says she doesn't care what happens to Wish, and then snaps that Garius needs to stop treating everything like it's a game. Garius gets ditched, staring around like he's totally lost, and Wish can't help but wonder why they're cutting him out of the conversation. Pal steps up and calls everyone in, making it crystal clear. The enemy commander they're facing is Lilium of the Abyssal Silver Ice, and she's a straight-up monster. Turns out she's stacked with power, probably even stronger than nearly every other general in the Demon Lord's army. He had an insane amount of mana, and ice magic so powerful it sounded like pure legend, the kind you only ever hear about in stories. They say she's basically a legend, and rumor has it she's the deadliest fighter in the entire demon invasion force. Garius doesn't flinch. He slams his palm and blurts that he'd love to fight her, and it makes Wish's nerves skyrocket. Wish jumps in to do his part. He starts flexing his gear, hauling out every healing potion and the crucial items they'll need, all packed tight and ready to. He screamed at the top of his lungs, demanding the pros vanish and dump all the support work on him. Wish is trying to hype himself up, insisting that if the mission succeeds, he'll save a mountain of people, but Garius cuts him off, snapping, "Stop right there." Levin crushes that idea and tells the kid straight up, "Your only job is to snatch the loot these monsters drop. Get in the way and you'll pay for it." Levin shoots, "Can a slowpoke like me at least handle that much?" And Wish can only manage a shaky nod, too nervous to say more. As they head out, Wish glances over her shoulder and spots it. Those heroes look tough, but the guy's barely holding it together, stress blasting through him. But Levin barks, telling everyone to move now. Knoll nods, convinced the pressure is exactly what you need for a fight this huge, while Wish keeps insisting to himself, "I can't be a burden." The party rushes straight into the chaos, and that demon gets obliterated in the very first second. Leaving Garius looking bored, he wipes down his blade and grumbles that all they've gotten so far is weak, low-level trash. He demands to know where the big boss, Lilium, is hiding, and right then, Knoll's calm starts to crack as worry creeps in. She raised her staff and told the whole crew she couldn't find Lilium's mono-signature anywhere around them. Levin freezes, totally blindsided, and blurts out, "Wait, something like that can even happen," while the whole crew just stands there, holding their breath for the fight. Lilium fights to stay calm, staring at the mark on her hand while she desperately tells herself, "I'm fine, everything's fine." With her demon soldiers standing at the ready, they confirm, no doubt about it, this crew is officially part of her personal army. Deep in the camp by the rocky hills, someone blurts out, "Wait, where are we even?" While the demon troops just shuffle supplies from tent to tent, wasting every second. Lilium sits there, chewing her nails raw, and finally blurts out, "I have zero clue. Are we winning or are we getting crushed?" For a top-tier demon king exec, it looks like the walls are closing in fast, and things are getting seriously ugly. She clocks a wolfman demon hauling gear and screams at him to freeze, right there. He's totally baffled, but she snaps into action and fires back, asking how the battlefield is looking right now, begging him to say out loud that they're actually winning this fight. After he slips her the news, her whole face lights up. Then she erupts, shouting that they've finally got the upper hand. Lilium erupts into maniacal laughter, blurting that humans aren't worth a damn, and gloating that it's all because she's the one running the show. But then she flips her tone on a dime, and tells the demon soldier that this entire victory only happened because of his hard work. Lilium locks eyes with him and says she expects even bigger things from him now, but inside, she's barely holding it together, flooded with relief, because if she'd failed, those higher-ups would have roasted her for the rest of her life. She knows those guys are always hunting for some excuse to take her down, and even the thought of them sends a chill through her spine. She pouts hard, because she knows demon society runs on merit, and she gets why those big-shot nobles strut around like they own the whole damn place. Still, she's convinced none of that gives them permission to sneer at a common girl like her, especially when even the thought of losing makes her tremble, because if she falls here, she's terrified of what brutal treatment awaits her back home. Lilium explodes with confidence, screams that she's going to win this battle, and makes it crystal clear she can't afford to lose for even a second. But she's so trapped in her own thoughts that the wolf demon has to stop and ask, "Why are you still just standing there?" Lilium listens as the wolf demon lays out the whole mess, and she just nods like she totally understands. So, then she snaps completely, yells straight out, "Is the hero here right now?" and panics like everything's falling apart. On the field, Levin and his entire squad hem in one tiny, pathetic demon like a closing trap. And Lilium watches from the cliff, totally baffled. Why in the world is a whole top-tier party teaming up to crush some low-level mob? She bursts into laughter when the wolf demon basically roasts the hero as a complete disappointment. As they go on, she spots someone else falling in behind the group, and her mind instantly goes, "Wait, am I meant to be their companion?" While Wish just stands there, staring at the loot with fire in their eyes, buzzing that this haul is gonna rake in a fortune when they sell it. Suddenly, someone lunges into a screaming fit at her, yelling that she's trash, demanding she move her feet, and pushing her to hurry up. A young girl is wobbling under the weight of a giant barrel packed with heavy swords, shaking as she blurts apologies to a cruel soldier, who storms off mid-sentence while she trips and scrambles after him, and Wish watches it all unfold with dread sinking hard in her chest. Wishes watched the whole thing play out, and snapped that they were doing the most awful things imaginable. Right as a demon gets slammed into a brutal showdown smack in the middle of the fight. Wish is drenched in sweat, staring down this lesser demon, shocked that a pathetic low-tier mob can hit this hard, until he pauses. But that nearby soldier just keeps mowing the monster down, swinging non-stop and screaming his lungs out as he fights to keep the line from breaking. Wish whips his head back to the girl on the ground and yells at her to hurry up. Then he says, but she clutches her back, grimacing hard, and blurts out that she can't even get up. His eyes blow wide as panic hits, realizing just how far this is about to spiral, and he knows clinging to the demon's back won't save a single soul. Staring down that demon, he clenches his resolve and decides, right now, he's finishing them off. He's wrestling with one terrifying thought. Can he really beat the kind of enemy that usually takes a whole hero's party to even touch? Wishes stared at the monster, convinced there was no way someone like him, just a merchant, could ever come out on top. But he forces himself to lock in, keep his head clear, and wonder if there's really anything he can do. He charges into the hunt for the beast, scanning for any crack in its armor he can exploit. That's when he freezes, something feels off, staring at the strange light and wondering, what is that? It's blasting straight off the monster, and he realizes, this power doesn't look anything like the magic he's seen. As he locks eyes on that glow, does it somehow feel warm in the strangest way? But the monster rockets toward him, and he barely throws himself aside at the last second. He realizes if he even hesitates for a second, he's dead, so he can't wait. So Wish snaps into all-or-nothing mode, and barrels forward with every ounce of power he's got, charging in like a one-way ticket to glory as he shouts his move. He leveled his blade straight at that glowing light, like one clean strike would finally end this for good. Wish leapt high over the demon, yelling at it to back off, and as he brought his blade down, he lands a massive strike, and obliterates the monster in one blinding burst of light. Everyone's frozen in shock, and the tiny elf girl can't even wrap her head around what she's witnessing. Even the demons nearby look completely stunned by what just happened, while the soldier keeps staring upward, like he can't believe his eyes. Wish drops to the ground, grabs air like it's the first time breathing, and exhales in pure relief, because somehow he actually made it through. He tells himself it was pure luck, but deep down he's relieved, because he managed to keep that woman safe. In the crowd, whispers erupt, people can't stop asking who that knife-wielding guy is and whether he's some legendary adventurer. They erupt in cheers for him, and the whispers start flying. People can't help wondering if he's really the legendary hero. Garius is losing his grip, ranting that Wish just wiped out a demon by himself in one brutal strike. Someone shouts at Levin, but he just freezes on the spot, eyes locked on the scene with a stone-cold serious face. Wish points down the road, locking the group in on the mission. Get this woman back to town, safe and sound. But Hero 11 just scowls, barking, "Why should I even lift a finger to save some low-class nobody?" Levin storms off, telling Wish to stop spiraling and just focus on grabbing materials before the pay drops. But Wish lunges to stop. He's yelling that social status shouldn't matter when someone's life is on the line, but the hero doesn't even hear him. Suddenly, Levin sees the blanks streak into the sky and snaps to it. Those shots are the signal, and now it's time to unleash their secret weapon. So he waves their wishes away, snaps that they're out of time, and tells them they've got to rush back to the wall, right now. Dashing away, that little demon girl bolts for her life, shaking with terror as the massive power bearing down on them makes her feel it in her bones. She bursts into tears, shrieking that the hero's party is terrifying, and then she scrambles to escape the area. The moment the pressure skyrockets, she bursts out one last scream of pure shock. And right then, the nearby soldiers snap, shouting for everyone to duck as they realize something huge is seconds from firing. The demon porter girl cranes her neck, staring up at the gigantic mechanical barrel, and disbelief hits her so hard she can barely finish her thought. The moment they clocked it was the Volvan, massive heavy artillery forged by a reincarnator. Everything clicked, because this thing was built to hunt high-ranking demons. She knows, down to the last detail, exactly how much damage this thing has already rained on the Demon Lord's army. She snaps, screaming at the humans for dragging something that dangerous onto the field in the first place. There's no way demons survive a weapon like that, yet she keeps firing off insults, calling them idiots for daring to even try. The demon soldiers nearby are stunned too, because they can feel it. Everything has flipped, and the situation is no longer theirs to control. They waste 0 seconds and slam into a full retreat, bolting for their lives as the pullback command echoes in the air. One soldier on the wall jabs a finger and yells that Lilium's army is finally breaking and fleeing, which kicks off a massive celebration as everyone screams that the victory is finally theirs. While the crowd is losing their minds with cheers, Garius just stands there looking dead inside, muttering that for a demon lord's army, those guys were straight up weak. Levin whips around to stare at the demons fading into the distance, demanding if that was really Lilium's army, and Garius just shrugs like, who knows? Slapping Wish on the back and hyping him up for crushing it out there. Right then, Wish burst into laughter. Levin just isn't buying it. He snaps with annoyance and tells himself this is probably nothing but a fluke. After the battle, the crew barrels into the town tavern to stuff their faces and slam drinks. But things turn tense in a blink, and Wish stares at Levin like he just slapped reality. Dumbfounded, he blurts out, "What did you just say?" Levin takes a sip, shoots Wish a look, and asks if he's deaf, making it crystal clear he meant every single word. He locks eyes with Wish and flat out tells him he's done. He's no longer needed in the party. Then he immediately orders him to get out. Wishes gets completely blindsided and blurts, "Why is this happening out of nowhere?" While Garius just sits there, ice cold and unbothered. Sage Noel blurts out the truth. He never stayed for friendship. They kept him around just to lug everyone's baggage. They shoved all the weight into the carrier, so everyone could travel light, lock in, and keep their eyes on the real mission. Wish won't back down. She keeps firing questions, demanding to know why Levin is dragging all of this into the spotlight right now. Even though Levin knows he's not as strong as the others, he refuses to let anyone's doubt get into his head. Levin fires back, asking why Wish thinks he can talk, and warns him not to get cocky just because. Levin couldn't just sit back, so he jumped in and helped some random people, because up in his world, he's out here saving everything, and he doesn't see wishes as an equal trade. He walked away from his wish, mouth shut, staring as the city's quiet streets stretched out like they were swallowing the silence. Later on, Wish trudges through town with all his gear, sighing like the weight on his chest is crushing him, because he could barely process it. Yeah, they really saw him like that, and it crushed him, because he genuinely thought he was doing his part for the team. He's frozen in place, totally lost on what he's even meant to do with his life now. Then out of nowhere, a girl's voice cuts through the air and calls his name. She strides up with nerves crawling all over her, blurting, "So you're really Wish?" And he freezes, totally lost, blurting out who she is and what she wants from him. The girl thanks Wish for bailing her out earlier, and Wish's eyes go wide, because he's totally not expecting her to. She even brings it up and boom, his cheeks explode with red. He gets so shy he can barely talk, insisting it was nothing but she won't hear a word. She snaps that he's wrong because he's the only one who. She doesn't even snap back, she just smiles and says she's happy he's safe, and that's it. So she strides away, and there's Wish, stuck on the street while his mind starts spiraling. He kicked off this journey because he wanted to be a merchant everyone actually loved, and he can still remember the day it all ignited, back when he was just a kid. He swore to himself he'd become a legendary merchant, just like his grandpa. He clamps his bag in both hands, determined, because the version of himself he's chasing won't ever quit. Just because they booted him from the hero squad doesn't mean he's done. He's got a whole new plan brewing. Wish looks dead serious as he tells himself, stick to my beliefs, then keep pushing forward. He starts picturing people from every corner of the world and craves the chance to lift their lives higher, like, right there in his head, before it cuts off. That line hits him like electricity. He pumps his fist and blurts out, it's finally time to start doing real merchant work. Staring over the town rooftops, he clenched his decision, and now he had to rush to get every last thing ready for his trip. So he marches through the streets, clocking every detail, telling himself that if he's really going to build a base, Lovick might be the perfect spot. Then his mind starts racing with what he'll need to make it work. To kick things off, he flashes a huge grin and dares everyone to wait, because the best part is coming. As he strides into the city, he clenches his fist and vows to himself, no matter what hits him, he's going to become a legendary merchant and make the whole world better with his trade. But while he's still riding that rush of inspiration, someone sprints nearby, and she's so fed up she erupts with a loud, frustrated siren. An elf girl with a furious glare screams that she almost died from what just happened. Back in the Demon Lord's castle, Lilium's spiraling, screaming that she's the one forced to lead an invasion against a human town, and she is not going down without a fight. As she drives her fists into a stone pillar, she snarls that she's stuck doing domestic chores, and she has zero experience fighting actual humans. As she keeps smashing the stone, she rants and rages about how it was the worst mistake ever to make her a commander in the first place. She's losing it. She hurls out one final frustrated scream, then slams her fist into the pillar like it owes her answers. But she smashes it way too hard, loses control and screams in agony. She just wrecked her hand on the stone. She's hopping on her feet and clutching her hand when a voice from behind needles her, asking, with mockery, if she's practicing some new dance, which makes Lilium go stone cold, because a hooded guy is right there, cackling, bragging that she's returned from her mission way earlier than he ever expected. And Lilium's face twists with pure terror, because she instantly recognizes him, Dwaynel, the supreme commander of the Demon Lord's entire army. He shoots her a smug look, then shrugs like, I guess we can't really do anything about this. But then he bursts into laughter, telling her that bringing down a fortress city is way too big for someone like her to manage. Dwayne just lets out a heavy sigh, shakes his head at Lilium, and basically says it's pathetic that a top-tier ice magic user is carrying on like that. He keeps needling her, calling out that she's still got the same short fuse as always, and then and Lilium finally snaps back, sweat pouring down her face, eyes blazing with stress, as she demands, why am I even on an invasion mission when I'm clearly not the right fit? Dwayne just shrugs it off, tells her he's fully on top of her situation, and then he cuts in, reminding her that in the demon world, strength is the only truth that matters when the dust finally settles. Then he drops a total bombshell, saying the entire invasion was only a test for her, leaving Lilium completely blindsided. Panic surges through her as she fires the question at him. Does this mean he's about to demote her to some lower rank again? So Dwayne tells her it's not that simple, and the way he says it makes it sound tragic, because the truth is, things are way worse than just a demotion. He flashes this smug grin, leans in, and flat out tells her the Demon Lord's army has no spot left for her anymore. Lilium just crumples in place as he snaps that she should have already known what was coming, given how badly she bombed his test. Wishes hit the road like, man, look at that sky, and feel that air so crisp, just soaking up the whole vibe. He's grinning like he already won, convinced his journey has gone perfectly smooth, until, but that thrill doesn't last. His mind snaps back to how he fled town for the merchant city, and then he realizes he's found himself trapped in the heart of some ancient ruins, staring at all this shattered stone like, why is this place falling apart for no reason? He strides deeper through the rubble toward a towering stone tower, wondering if a ruined castle was really even meant to be here in the first place. Suddenly, he hears someone nearby sobbing and sniffling, and his stomach drops as the horrifying thought hits. He might be completely lost. He jerks his gaze over and spots a girl slumped on a rock, head buried in her hands as she sobs uncontrollably. Wish rushes over to check on her, blurting out that she's okay, and asking if she's lost too, until Wish suddenly stops. Lilium stares up at him with tears in her eyes, then it finally hits, and her pointy ears spill into view. He totally snaps, jerks back, yanks his sword free, and screams that he's finally found a demon. Wish jabs his finger in her direction and yells that she's the hero's companion, but the elf girl freezes, just as stunned as he is to find him here. She bursts into a blood-curdling scream for help, and Wish just stands there, utterly stunned, completely clueless. He leans in and fires off. So what's a demon lord's soldier doing out here? Then he clocks it. She's way weaker than he ever expected, and he can't even finish the thought. William's sobs keep spilling as she blurts that she became one, and Wish just freezes there, staring like he's got zero clue what she's talking about. She finally snaps and screams that she got fired from the demon lord's army, leaving Wish utterly dumbstruck. Her sobs crash through the shattered stone ruins as Wish stands over her, unmoving. He's still trying to process what he just heard, like, did she really say that? And she keeps screaming and pounding the ground under him. He blurts it out again, grilling her like, wait, did you really get kicked out of the Demon King's army? Because that sounds absolutely wild. It hits him how insane it is to spot a demon just chilling in human territory like it owns the place. And he can't help but think, seeing a demon here is already wild, but finding one that got fired, that's a whole new level. Lilium's still in full meltdown. She's crying so loud, even Wish can't make out a single word of what she's trying to say. He pauses for a beat, eyes narrowing, and suddenly realizes something's off, way off, about what's happening. Wish still remembered the rumor. If a demon could actually talk, it wasn't some nobody. It was usually a top-tier monster packed with raw power. And then he reels back to those terrifying upper-class demons. Monsters that are way deadlier than any low-level trash he's ever heard about. Even their magic feels totally unlike anything he's ever seen, and it makes him snap his eyes back at. He heard the girl wailing right in front of him and couldn't shake the thought. Was she really a top-tier threat, or just acting like a total baby? Lilium keeps breaking down, wailing about how hard she's trying and how life's being unfair, while Wish awkwardly stands there, unsure what to do. He figures he can probably handle it and starts to sheath his sword. Then Lilium lets out a terrified scream and yanks herself back in pure fear. Wish shoots her a sharp look and demands to know what she's doing here, or what her real deal is. Lilium finally calms down enough to lift her gaze to him, staring like, how on earth do you even know who I am? Lilium keeps sobbing into her cloth, insisting she recognizes the Wish from the battlefield, because she once commanded the Demon Lord army. Wish stares at her like she's totally lost it, then blurts out if someone as pathetic as her was really meant to be a commander. Lilium wipes the tears off her face and bursts into a huge grin, telling him he finally understands. She starts flexing like a champ, claiming she's the top-tier executive known as *** Lilium of the Abyssal Silver Ice ***, and then she even throws in a playful deal. She'll let him call her * Lady Lilium ***. Wish just looms over her with this deadpan stare, basically telling her, if you're gonna lie to my face, at least make it believable. He starts grilling her with a lecture, insisting the real Lilium is that legendary ice mage, an absolute monster with power so ridiculous it's unreal. He tells her if you were really that person, your magic would already be ripping reality apart. Everything around us would have frozen solid by now. Wish sizes her up, then freezes, because not a single drop of magic even clings to her. And he bluntly tells her she's nothing but a low-level nobody. And that hits Lilium so brutally, she gets knocked back midair, flipping through the air, leading her to slump on the ground, claw at the dirt, and grumble that he's being so mean. Lilium just slumps in the dirt, completely crushed, dragging her feet as she berates herself, like she's nothing but a crappy demon after all, which makes Wish's panic spike as he wonders if he went too far with those insults, even though he knows he really shouldn't be throwing stones. Lilium drops her gaze with a hard, serious look and says, yeah, I used to be a total big deal back in the demon realm. She goes on about how everyone looked at her like she was the next big star, then piled those massive expectations right onto her shoulders, and so she busted her tail every day to keep the Demon Lord's army standing, because it felt like she was carrying the whole war on her own. She starts fuming, replaying in her head how she gave it everything, and still nothing. She still got fired, straight up, because she couldn't stand her ground in a real fight. Lilium snaps, loses it, and starts screaming at that shitty old geezer who kicked her out. But then she freezes mid-sentence and snaps that this isn't even the part that hits her the hardest. She clenches her fist and snaps that the truly infuriating stuff began the second she lost her job. Dwayne stands there, staring at her, and basically tells her she already knows exactly how the rest of this story is going to play out. He slams the hammer down and declares to Lilium that she's officially out of the army, while she freezes on the spot, completely stunned. Right then, a random demon girl in the back erupts into loud laughter, cackling about Lilium getting the boot. Lilium whips her gaze to the stranger and demands, so who are you? What am I even supposed to be? She flashes a massive wink and a peace sign, then pops in with a bright, bubbly hi, as her intro rolls out. She introduces herself as Lummy, and then drops the bombshell. She's the one who swooped in and stole Lilium's executive seat. Dwayne turns and strides off, telling the higher-ups, Lummy's the real deal, trust her with everything now. Lummy marches after them too, firing one last insult over her shoulder, calling her old senpai seriously lame. Lilium finally snaps, screaming at the top of her lungs about just how furious she is. Wish soaks it all in, and when Sai tells her it sounds like being a demon is pure misery, her face just says, oh no, that's brutal. Lilium snaps at Wish, hissing that she doesn't want his pity, then sits on the ground, glaring like he just ruined everything. Wish plops onto the rubble nearby, cracks into the conversation, and admits that the truth is, he's got his own story to spill. He looks down and suddenly spills the truth. Until just recently, he wasn't just some nobody, he was a full-on member of the hero's party. I'd give anything to rewind to the day it all collapsed, right there when the Demon King's army hit in that huge battle. He explains he couldn't just stand there and let a helpless woman get attacked, but the moment he stepped in to help her, it set the hero off in the worst way. In the end, they booted him out of the group for it, and now he's just a plain merchant, grinding day by day to make ends meet. Wish blurts out an apology for the boring story, saying he only wrote it because he truly feels what she's feeling, while Lilium just sinks into stunned silence, saying nothing at all. Lilium stares at him with teary eyes, saying he went through the same thing too, only to leave Wish utterly baffled. Out of nowhere, she snaps and breaks down in tears, insisting he must have endured unbearable pain. Wish just freezes in place, stunned out of her mind, because now she's realizing he's really hurting, and she has no clue what to do next. Wish gets completely blindsided by her sudden breakdown, then blurts, what the heck is wrong with you? What happened all of a sudden? Lilium keeps sobbing, begging herself she can't stop, because it finally hits her, how brutal his life must have been, and the tears just won't quit. While Wish tries to tell her she doesn't need to cry for him, she won't stop. She keeps going, insisting she knows exactly what it feels like to get tossed aside. Lilium pops to her feet with this huge, dramatic, I finally get it look, while Wish scrambles to get her to wait, but she starts screaming even louder, and Wish is basically yelling at her to just give him a second, yet she's completely lost in her feelings. At last she halts, stands over him and fixes him with a hard, serious stare, then announces the huge decision she's made, while he just sits there, totally stunned and clueless. She locks eyes with him and flat out tells him she isn't staying put. She's joining him for the journey. Lilium rushes up and fires off, what's your name? And he answers, Wish, but you can tell the entire moment still leaves him totally rattled and weirded out. Wish thrusts his hand up and tells her to hold on, that's not what I meant. Then he demands, why are you jumping in with me all of a sudden? Lilium just stands there, eyes empty, and stares him down like, okay, where are we hitting first? Lilium keeps yelling at him to just hear her out for 1 second, but Wish is done with everything. He's exhausted, and he insists they're in a merchant city anyway. She asks, do you mean Lovitch? Then whips her finger the other way and snaps, no, it's the complete opposite direction. Wish can't wrap his head around it that she actually knows where everything is. Lilium starts bragging like crazy, claiming she used to run internal affairs for the Demon King, so she swears she knows every town and country around this place. She snaps, dummy merchant, then declares she can be his guide, preening like she just won the whole game, while, even though Wish admits it'd be a massive help, he still can't wrap his head around why she's so determined to tag along with him, so he fires back and demands to know what's driving her. Lilium snaps her gaze away and spits out that it's maddening. They both busted their tails and still got fired like they meant nothing. She's like, that's the whole reason I'm signing up, because we're going out there and making sure the world sees what we're made of. Lilium plants a fierce, determined stare and declares they're going to prove they can survive on their own, too. Wish lets out a heavy sigh and stares at the ground, thinking the whole plan feels wildly reckless, but he cracks a small smile and tells her, she's right. And the second he says it, it hits him. She's been through a brutal grind too, just like him. Wish grips his sword and declares they don't get to wing this. If they're going to do it, they need a plan, starting with the two of them officially locking arms as a temporary party to travel together. Lilium looks totally set to go as. And that's when a wild thought hits them. This isn't some random moment at all. It's only the start of something way bigger. They kick off the journey feeling awesome, moving with a spring in their step, while the narrator finally kicks things into gear and sets off toward the merchant city. But just when Lilium thinks she's got a breather, a giant bear bursts up right behind her. A gigantic monster looms over them right in the middle of the path, and every step it takes screams, run. Wish and Lilium snap, start losing their minds, and scream at full volume because a giant bear just drops out of nowhere. Wish's face twists in panic. He blurts that it's bad, because he can't wrap his head around it. They've barely stepped in and monsters are already crashing the party. So he roars that their only play is to book it out of there, right now, as fast as their legs will carry them. Wish yanks Lilium by the hair to stop her sprinting blind and shouts at her to wait up, while Lilium lets out a strangled gasp, snaps her gaze on him, and demands if he's really trying to kill her. She erupts into a full-blown tantrum, but Wish cuts in hard, reminding her he almost died before she ever had the chance. Lilium bursts into a scream, warning everyone the monster is pure trouble, and then she lays out the truth. It's a natural enemy to any adventurer. Lilium keeps losing it in the background, and then Wish hears a sudden noise and whips around to look. The second that massive, bear-like monster unleashes a thunderous roar, it slams the ground and pulverizes everything in its path. Wish bolts into a sprint, screaming about what that thing even is, wondering if it's really just a tiny little. William is right there beside him, yelling through clenched teeth that they're in serious trouble, like, right this second. She tells him the monster's name is Gordon, and that beast doesn't just scare people, it brings death to everyone it finds. So they keep scrambling through the woods, while Lilian begs desperately wants to do something, only for him to snap that she's asking for the impossible. Wish stares in disbelief, realizing their situation is getting dangerously worse by the second. He grabs Lilium by the heart and snaps that they can't just keep sprinting, because if they do, both of them are going to die. Wish snaps into action and demands a brand new plan right this second, but Lilium's left totally clueless about what he's cooking, so he tells her they've got to take a massive gamble, and right away, panic rips through her. Lilium shrieks as Wish fires his load ability, blasting them both skyward like a rocket. A colossal blast erupts, slams the ground, and rips the giant monster backward like it's weightless. Once they touch down, Wish wheezes for breath and blurts out that they finally shook them off. He's thrilled they're safe, but Lilium is sprawled face first on the ground, completely dazed like her head can't even spin right. Wish catches her gaze and admits he's been stuck on the way she used to be everybody's big deal. So he straight up demands to know why a former demon lord executive can't just steamroll these monsters like it's nothing. Lilium instantly freaks out, muttering that this can't be real, and then she realizes she can't even use her magic right now. Wish stares up at him, squinting hard, as he questions whether she's truly the legendary ice and snow magic user he's been hearing about. Lilium screams that her real, powerful self is something from ages ago, and now she's nothing but a pathetic weakling. She insists it's the human's fault she's like this, and since Wish is a reincarnator, she's saying he doesn't even get to complain. Wish just stares down at her, completely baffled by her intentions, so he blurts out, "What are you saying?" Lilium's smile vanishes, her eyes go deadly serious, and then she drops the real bombshell. She's gotten this weak because global warming is wrecking everything. Wish just locks eyes with her, stunned and silent, mouthing global warming again and again like he's trying to understand the excuse. Lilium keeps pushing forward, telling us the world's temperature has been climbing fast lately, and it all boils down to the otherworld tech they dragged in. Wish is left totally stunned, unable to even get a word out. She snaps that all this scorching heat is evaporating the water mana floating in the air, so her powers start to sputter and die right then. Wish snaps, "Hold up," and tells her he's still stuck on the basics, then demands to know what mana even is. Lilium finally gets it. He's lost because a merchant wouldn't know the technical terms. She leans in and starts spelling it out for him, saying mana is basically the spell's building blocks were 4 deadly elements: water, fire, wind, and earth. She claims that when you mix these things, mages can whip up all kinds of spells, freezing ice one moment, crackling lightning the next. Then she snaps it back to her real crisis, claiming water power has started to fail because global warming is wrecking everything. The heat wrecks her concentration, so her mana won't click together, and her ice magic starts to crash, right in front of everyone. Wish locks eyes with her and asks why she won't just switch to another element. Lilium lets out a frustrated huff like that idea is driving her insane. She blushes hard, fights the urge to dodge the truth, and finally confesses that ice magic is the only thing she can truly do. Wish starts clicking the puzzle pieces into place and can't stop wondering, was this legendary ice user just a... Wish can't believe his ears. He blurts out that he's got to be hearing wrong, and then asks if she really only knows ice magic, calling her a specialized idiot to her face. Lilium snaps at him to shut up and demands what's wrong, right as a colossal monster paw slams down through the scene. Right when the ground explodes behind them, that brutal blast jolts them into a sprint, both of them racing for their lives as a colossal, terrifying bear monster bursts into the forest and starts smashing everything in sight. Lilium starts freaking out because she's sure the monster's found her, and that Wish can finally see just how terrified she really is. Seriously, especially now that Beast has slammed the only exit shut and trapped them in the area. Lilium snatches up a handful of rocks, plays the tough girl, and dares the monster to come and try her. She stammers that her ultimate attack will obliterate everything, but Wish clocks what she's really pulling off. She stops mid-action and realizes she's not holding some magic weapon at all, just a plain old stone ready to hurl at it. He knows he can't count on Lilium's strength right now, so he grits his teeth and decides it's on him to step up. Wish plants his feet and raises his sword, but the truth hits hard. He knows he can't beat what's coming. He dives into a brutal, head-on brawl with a beast like this, hunting for even the tiniest crack in its attack, while his mind races with one question. If there's a crack in this chaos, he'll pounce on it and force his way through, somehow. And out of nowhere, a mysterious voice cuts through the air and tells him straight up, everything's going to be okay. Wishes is totally blindsided. She whips her head around, hunting for the source of that voice, but as the voice speaks again, he suddenly realizes the words are bouncing right inside his own head. I reassured him everything was fine, then told him to aim for the light. Wishes stares at the words, baffled, and blurts out what light that voice even means, until he finally sees it. A blinding glow suddenly ignites dead center on the giant bear's chest. He points right at the monster's weak spot, and Wish locks onto the target, because this is his only shot. Wish freezes in sheer shock, staring at the glowing light like it's seen him back. He knows that feeling all too well, could this be happening again, just like last time? The colossal bear towers in place, a blinding glow roaring on its chest, and a strange ribbon of light blasts straight toward. He spots a clear path, locks onto that band of light, and realizes it's pointing straight at the monster's weakness, exactly where he needs to strike. Lilium is right there, shaking with fear and stammering, while Wish blurts out nervous laughter, because he has zero clue how he's even supposed to pull this off. But he glances over at the elf girl and demands, "Have you seen the light yet?" He spots the trail of energy curling around his arms, and his mind races. What if he's the only one who can actually see it? The bear smashes them with a deafening roar inches from their faces, but Wish refuses to flinch, even as everything turns terrifying, and while Lilium is losing her mind, screaming at the top of her lungs, Wish spots a crack in the moment, and rockets forward with his sword already drawn. He grunts under the crushing weight, forcing himself to admit he has no clue what this light is, or who brought it into his world, yet. But he charges forward on that same path anyway, mind racing over what kind of future this power is about to carve out for them, as he closes in for the kill. Wish thrusts his sword right through the monster's glowing weak spot on its chest, and the hit detonates with a massive blast. A massive surge of energy detonates in midair, screaming through the air and blasting everything nearby backward. The huge bear crumples to the ground with one last miserable groan, finally wiped out for good, while Wish steps away like it was never in doubt. But the wind comes for him, and when he finally realizes his whole body just turns to pure lead, he can't help but grunt. Lilium yells his name to make sure he's okay, and Wish blurts out an apology, saying his power just vanished out of nowhere. He insists he's fine, but a mysterious voice cuts in, saying his body hasn't learned that ability to yet. Wish whips his head around, totally stunned by the voice, and right then, a young girl suddenly appears out of nowhere and rushes in to congratulate him on his huge win. Lilium can't believe her eyes. There's a kid out here, and Wish grabs the girl and demands to know what she's doing in a place like this. Milfina steps up and says, "I'm Milfina," then starts talking like she's already cracked every secret behind Wish's hidden powers. Milfina admits she only jumped in because Wish looked completely lost, like he had no idea what was happening. She tells him he's got a special power that's only his, and Wish just stands there, utterly dumbfounded. Lilium buys none of this, whispering that the kid's acting way too strange. She fires off, "So what's your plan?" Because that girl's been spouting non-stop crazy talk ever since she showed up. Lilium won't let it go, pressing Wish hard and insisting that kid is a real threat to them. Wish glances at the girl and flat out says she's definitely suspicious. Then, before he can finish his thought, Milfina pouts hard and blurts to Lilium that she's being so mean, but then she starts to. He drops a bombshell, and straight up tells Lilium that her attitude is exactly why she got tossed out of the demon army. Lilium completely snaps, screaming at the girl, while Wish just freezes there, utterly stunned. He tries to rein in the chaos, demanding to know how some random kid even knows Lilium's secret history, while Milfina just smirks like she's got the whole thing under control. Milfina swore she was totally okay with explaining. Then she snapped that they needed to get out of the forest, right now, before it was too late. Wish agreed, then shot a worried look back at the massive bear, realizing the local wildlife was insanely dangerous. Milfina shoots him a sharp look and tells Gordon straight up, he's actually one of the weakest monsters around, so yeah, she's cutting him loose. Wish's eyes go wide as she blurts out exactly why the local creatures started going savage, because of a dragon. A miasma is sealed deep in the woods, and that's why swarms of even worse horrors crawl around nearby. The elf girl panics, blurts out, "Are you talking about the legendary demon dragon?" and trails off. Wish has zero clue, so she blurts it out. It's a monster from ages ago, one that could wipe everything out. With a single breath, he annihilated entire mountain ranges in the demon world. Milfina just casually says that's the one, and the elf girl's mind snaps so hard she goes completely off the rails. While they brace for the danger, Milfina finally blurts out the name. This place is the Fornium Forest. Milfina points out they're standing exactly where the ancient magic dragon Fornies is sealed, which sends the elf girl into full panic, as she blurts out, if that legendary symbol of terror is really here. She yanks Wish toward the exit, screaming that they have to bolt right now, but Milfin steps in and adjusts. She snaps her eyes on them and orders, "Follow me." Then she takes that first step forward. She pushes through the thick forest, and Wish plus the elf girl trail right behind her, close enough to feel the dread in every step, and right then Wish spots something wild on her back, then spins around and asks, "Wait, are those real wings?" He's completely stunned, staring at her like he can't make sense of what he's seeing. She just flashes a sly smile, then casually drops the bombshell that she's actually a goddess named Milfina. She grabs their attention and spills the truth. She's come to this world to stop the brutal war tearing humans and demons apart. She wrapped up her reveal by dropping the biggest bombshell. She's the supreme god Lepis' youngest daughter. The elf girl locks eyes on those wings and the halo. There's no denying it. The proof of what's right is staring her in the face. She snaps into a cold sweat and blurts the truth. Milfina isn't just a myth anymore. She has to accept her as a real goddess. But it just doesn't add up for her. She points out that gods are supposed to hate demons, so Wish's mind clicks. Why isn't Milfina striking them, even though she knows exactly what he's doing? Milfina snaps to attention like a memory just hit her. Then she shoots a look over at them, realizing something huge. She yanks on Wish's sleeve and blurts his name, but he just freezes there, stunned, trying to read her mind and figure out what she wants. She kicks it off by explaining that this whole forest is sealed inside a massive magical barrier, designed to scramble anyone who dares enter that sea of trees, then trap them there forever. This isn't just any seal, it's a monster of power, strong enough to pin a demon dragon in place, and it hits humans just as hard. She locks eyes with him and with total calm, tells him straight up that there's no way he's getting out of here. The crew pushes deeper into the thick trees, and Wish keeps glancing back, asking if this mess isn't actually way worse than it looks. Milfina shoots him a confident look and tells him, "It's totally fine, because I'm a goddess, and she starts skipping forward, barking for them to keep up and not get left behind, while Wish is yelling at her to stop. Later on, they finally burst onto a clear ridge under the stars, breathing out in pure relief, because they truly made it out alive. Wish swivels to Milfina, blurts out his thanks, and pats her head, right as the sweet little elf girl freezes in shock. Milfina just giggles at all the attention while Wish leans in and tells her she totally came through for them back there. But then Wish slams the brakes and demands to know why she ever ended up hanging around that deadly forest in the first place. She grins and tells him she came just to meet him and his friends, and she even calls him Big Brother Wish. Then it hits him, she really did know exactly who they were the moment they met. Milfina casually drops that she's been watching them from the celestial realm, and the elf girl goes completely speechless. Milfina bursts into laughter and goes, "Of course I know what's going on." She tells Lilium she knows the elf and Big Brother are getting painfully close, and that's exactly how she sees it, because she's not clueless, not for a second, which sends Lilium into a full-on panic as she stammers backward, blurting close, then she can't even finish the sentence. She tries to bury the embarrassment, snapping that this is just a temporary truce, nothing more. Milfina's not buying a single word. She snaps, asking the elf if he's really sure about that, and she's already mid-laugh as he whips his gaze to Wish and demands to know what he really thinks about all of this. Wish shoots the question a confused look, then declares that he sees Lilium as a precious comrade, and Lilium snaps her arms across her chest, pouts hard, looks away, and huffs like she's holding back a storm. Wish tries to smash the awkward silence by pushing things forward, and the moment they start walking, Milfina's smile fades, and she braces herself with a serious question. Why do humans and demons keep slaughtering each other when they could just get along? Milfina strides ahead, talking like the truth burns, saying her father swore peace was nothing but a lie. He was convinced the world would only be safe when every last demon was wiped out. But Wish and Lilium freeze mid-step, totally blindsided by her brutal words. Wish blurts her name in shock, and Lilium just stares in stunned silence because, as Milfina whips around with a stone-cold serious face, she tells them she feels the exact same way Wish and his friends do, and then she explains why. Her biggest dream has always been simple: make their world a place where humans and demons can finally live side by side in peace. Yeah, it gets complicated from there. How it all went down back home. She still remembers standing in front of her father and the other ruthless leaders to lay out her ideas, but she says nobody ever listens, just treats her like an annoying nuisance, and never once bothers to understand where she's coming from. And it feels like someone finally got completely cut off from their own family, just for stubbornly clinging to those beliefs for way too long. Milfina sank into total emptiness for what felt like forever, sitting there alone and crushed, because she truly believed she couldn't change a thing by herself. But right then, when she finally found something to believe in, her eyes lit up, and the second she remembered the moment, everything shifted, her whole world. It was the moment she spotted Wish and Lilium side by side, because seeing a human and a top-tier demon teaming up for real, that was all the proof she'd ever need. Milfuna goes on and on about how blissful life used to feel, like finding them wasn't luck at all, it was destiny calling her. And Lilium just froze, utterly speechless, while she laid out her dream. And the whole time, she genuinely believed it was the two of them together who could finally flip the world. She slaps her hands together with pure, unshakable determination, because this is the one reason she pushed through all this distance, and it's all leading to her. Her main mission is to grant her brother's wish with a blessing that's truly special. Wish just freezes, staring at her, his mind spiraling as he struggles to believe he's actually about to receive a blessing. Lilium lets out this heavy, exhausted sigh, and right that second, Milfina freezes, then blurts out her name. Lilium glares and snaps that if all of it is real, then the human gods are basically the absolute worst. And Wish snaps into panic, jabs his finger at Lilium, and blurts to Milfina that she has no business saying stuff like that right in front of her. Lilium folds her arms, pouts hard, and declares she hates what she hates, and nothing is going to change that. She ends it by leaning in and asking, "Tell me, doesn't this whole situation scream at you how obvious it is?" Lilium erupts in rage and screams that anyone who'd just toss aside a sweet girl like Milfina has no excuse. She's clearly. He didn't hold back one bit, straight up yelling that Leppy's is the absolute worst. Leppy just laughs it off and struts away, and Lilium's glare follows him. She snaps, "What's your problem?" He whips around and tells her, "I figured you'd react just like that, exactly as I expected." And while Milfina stares in shock, and Lilium blurts that if she has nowhere to go, she should just come with them. Milfina is completely stunned, but Wish winks, flashes a thumbs up and says, "Yeah, it's sudden, but I swear it's a great idea." He thrusts his hand out toward her, grinning like, "Come with us, please," because he genuinely loved to have her riding along. Milfina's eyes start to water with that huge, glowing smile. She's thanking them non-stop. Then she blurts out to her brother and her two brand new friends. She clasped her hands in a hushed prayer, like she was begging the universe for one specific wish. And it's so personal you can practically feel her heart breaking in that moment where she finally demands he get the blessing he's been craving for ages. While she prays, Milfina can't stop thinking about Wish's real power, the one that's about to unleash itself on him. He's always had a special kind of insight that lets him spot the cracks in even the toughest opponent. In an instant, she's banking on her blessing to make him spot those details even. Suddenly, his eyes sharpen. He spots a weird glow in the distance, and he realizes it's coming from. Milfina isn't just talking, she's handing him a legendary boost called Divine Protection. Wish keeps staring at the glowing light wrapped around his body, stunned like, "What is happening to me?" Because it feels unreal. He grins at the group, and tells them he feels amazing, like he can pretty much do anything right now, and that elf girl sizes him up from head to toe. She comes right out and tells him he looks exactly the same, and even then, she admits it. He finally stop with that dumb face he always pulls. Wish just flashes a smug grin. Wish is finally feeling that buff hit, so he grins at Lilium and says he's testing this brand new power on her right now. But she doesn't take him seriously at all. She just brushes him off with a bored stare, like his threats don't even make a dent. Out of nowhere, she erupts into a full-on freak out. Her whole body starts glowing, and she can't wrap her head around the fact she's literally shining like a lamp. Wish grins as his insight skill hums louder than ever, and he leans in to tell her the truth. This light isn't her power at all, it's her weakness. William and Milfina just freeze there, completely lost, while he bursts into laughter like they're missing the whole joke. He jabs his finger at her, laughing that she's basically just one huge weak spot, and that's when Lilium snaps and loses her mind. She snaps into a full tantrum, smacking him and screaming that it can't possibly be true, while Milfina, up in the back, just breaks down and cries. Lilium keeps yelling that he's an idiot, but then Wish's laughter cuts off. His eyes snap to something weird nearby, and the moment he realizes it, he leans over the cliffside, scanning the valley below, where a bunch of buildings are tucked away, and he's locked on the sight as he snaps, "Wait, is this really a village?" and just stands there frozen, while the girls keep throwing punches behind his back. Wish gazes over the quiet little town, trying to wrap his head around what's really going on, starting right now. "Tell me, are you seriously telling me it's really possible to settle down in there, inside one of those houses?" a voice demands. You want to stay here in this village. So Wish sinks into a wooden chair, nods with full respect and says, yes, sir, while, as he was explaining, they couldn't help but hope, if it wasn't a problem, that he'd let them stay for a while. The guy he's talking to is Mayor Zebman, and the wild part is he looks totally unbothered. He just shovels down his food and grunts back, and Wish leans in like, wait, the mayor's weirdly chill, and suddenly it clicks. And the whole room suddenly feels awkward as hell. Wish glances over at Lilium, who's just sitting there, staring completely blank. He remembers how he was freaking out about her demon features before they even showed up. But turns out all it took was downing a basic recovery potion. Boom, her pointy ears suddenly looked human. He locks eyes with her, stunned, because a high-level demon is slipping through as a normal person like it's nothing. Mayor Zebman wipes his plate clean, then drops the bomb. He'd actually love for them to stick around longer, and Wish and Milfina are completely thrown off by the sudden offer, and the mayor leans in and drops the catch. This village has its share of seriously weird circumstances, so William shuts everything out and listens like his life depends on it as she repeats the details. He blurts the words back at the mayor, dead sure something's off, and the mayor just grunts, then launches into the history of. He points at the land and tells them, 40 years ago, when the big demon invasion hit, a bunch of folks fled the capital of Asterion and started over. Then they built, and it all began. They counted 53 settlements across the whole region, right where they're sitting, too, because Zakin village was forged from that brutal fight, but the kingdom still won't stamp them as an official town, decades of being brushed off by the government, and honestly, it feels like the higher-ups just want to pin the blame on the refugees for running in the first place, while the mayor drops his gaze and starts talking about how right between this village and the capital, there's this colossal sacred forest, so massive, so feared, that most people won't even set foot inside it. The village ends up working like a secret shield for them, hidden, guarded, and out of sight from anyone nosy enough to pry. But he still throws them one honest, fair warning. If the crew stays put and lends a hand, the kingdom could slap rebels on them just for teaming up with a village of outcasts. Mayor Zebman cuts in and warns that letting their merchants hang around in some unofficial spot could smash their reputation. Then Wish glances his way, eyes wide like, wait, really? The mayor is being insanely considerate. Right away, he starts laying out tonight's plans and tells them to camp in a hut just a short distance outside the village for safety. But then, wait. Wish refuses to cower in the shadows and bluntly tells the mayor she'd rather stay put right in the village. The mayor is totally caught off guard by the kid's bold confidence, and he blurts out, are you sure you really want to get involved with them? Lilium just grins and tells him it's no big deal at all, like this whole mess is nothing. She's completely calm, zero stress, explaining she's already clocked the chief's real personality, and honestly, that's just the start. She watches the local kids tear into laughter and games together, and you can practically hear her thinking, yeah, this doesn't feel like a bad place at all. The mayor freezes for a split second, then nods like it all clicks, promising to lead the group to their accommodations as they march straight through town's center, and Wish spots a bunch of villagers packed together, huddled close and whispering like they're hiding something. Something feels off to him, and he can't help but wonder what they're really talking about. Lilium clocked that everything was shifting fast, and she pointed out the tension in the air was getting downright suffocating. Out of nowhere, some random dude across the way starts yelling at the villagers, blasting the word peasants like it's an insult meant to hit hard. A hulking giant yanks a local up by the shirt and screams that he needs to stop playing all high and mighty, while he shoves them to move faster and demands every single bit of their goods. Right now. He steps right up in his face and growls that they better not even think about hiding a single thing. He makes it crystal clear, anyone who dares to defy him is getting slapped with the death penalty. The villagers freeze in dead silence, staring like they've seen something they can't survive. He keeps yelling orders to hand everything over as he goes on a full rampage, smashing the place and making everyone jump out of their skin. Wish gets blindsided and snaps, who the hell is that guy? While Lilium stares on, horrified at how brutal the whole thing looks. Mayor Zebman just stares at the dirt and groans like, they're back again. Mayor Zebman reveals the truth. He's no random man at all. He's an official from the kingdom, working directly for the Lord. Sure enough, he rolls into the village with his men and puts on a fake smile, claiming they're only there to collect taxes. But the mayor snaps back that the truth is way uglier. Logan isn't some savior at all. He's just a thief, stealing their food and stripping every last thing of value. Lilium snaps out of it, blurts out what kind of nonsense this is, and screams that the kingdom hasn't done a thing for these people. She's standing there wishing she could vanish, face twisted in pure disgust, as she snaps that this whole situation is just way too much. Meanwhile, Logan clicks his tongue as he trudges through the chaos he caused, muttering, so that's really all the loot we've got. He slams the place as pathetic, starts kicking barrels to pieces, and screams at the villagers to fetch him something truly more unique. Lilium watches him wreck the village and snaps. She can't take it anymore and calls the guy a total piece of trash. She strides right up to him to teach him a lesson, and the mayor suddenly loses his nerve, scrambling to stop her. He snatches her into his arms and pleads, "Wait, please," insisting they're officials and that he won't let her land in trouble. Logan breaks hard, locks eyes on Milfina, and instantly knows it's her. He locks eyes with the girl, glares hard and snaps, "What are you staring at?" So, Milfina locks eyes with him and fires the question, "Are you just trash?" Logan snaps and slashes with his sword, but Wish lunges in and grabs her at the last second. And he's demanding answers. What does Logan think he's doing? Logan just scratches his head, muttering that this is exactly why he can't stand peasants. He stares at his boots, grumbles as the mud splatters up his legs. Then he orders them both to die, but Wish locks eyes with him and demands an apology. Logan's patience snaps even harder at the kid's attitude. He steps in and demands, "So you really want to fight?" And then things spiral from there. The mayor panics and begs him not to sacrifice himself for the village. Milfina stares in pure shock as Wish suddenly goes dead silent, and the mayor loses his mind, yelling at them to get out of there right now. The girl finally clicks. This isn't just wishful heroics or some noble sacrifice. It's way bigger than that, and the truth hits so hard she can barely finish the thought, because Wish is straight up furious. He's fuming over his friends getting hurt and how insanely unfair it all is, while Logan digs in and stands his ground with. Wish yanks his sword free and jams the blade straight at the guy's chest. Then he growls that he won't stop until he sends him flying, right before the moment explodes into her. A strange glow suddenly flares in his eyes. He shrugs and says that's all there is, and right when the power hits it, Milfina flashes a massive grin, because she just knows that starting right now, Wish will finally lay bare every single weakness in razor-sharp detail. Even Wish can sense the shift. He swears he can see it now, and suddenly everything looks sharper, louder, and way more vivid than it ever did before. Milfina watches in shock as his real power finally snaps awake. Then status windows start exploding into the air, proving this is Wish's true ability. An alert blares the second a massive weakness shows up, and right in front of him, he can read Logan's entire stats, from his defense to his exact agility, and with all that info swirling around the clueless guards, Wish strides in and hurls, "Logan is trash," right in his face. Wish's eyes are locked in as he tells that guy, "I'm taking you right now." Logan refuses to back off for a second, snapping out what he truly can't stand about that attitude, and right as he does, he just smirks and fires off a question. Does the kid really think he's a match for him? One of the guards lunges in too, warning that a knife fight is a terrible idea. But Logan barks at him to shut up and stay out of it. Wish nods along and shuts down, just like that. And he says he's got Logan in his crosshairs too, because he's honestly pretty pissed off. He bellows, "Bring it on," and spits in Logan's face, calling him trash to his face. Logan nods like, "Yeah, that works for me," then promises to beat him half to death as a warning. And right before he swings, he growls that he'll carve a lesson into the kid's skin. Logan rockets forward with a massive swing, screaming that Wish will never try to defy him again. Logan throws every ounce of his strength into a brutal overhead strike, and somehow, Wish just barely manages to make it connect. He slams his guard up just in time to stop that heavy blade. Logan snarls in frustration, because the kid didn't just stall him, he actually stopped him. While they're trapped in that moment, Wish suddenly realizes he can feel every ounce of Logan's strength and skill. Thanks to Melfina's blessing, he gets the upper hand. Logan slams the ground, rocks explode into the air, and he roars at Wish, demanding to know if he truly thinks he can afford to look away right now. Wish doesn't even break a sweat. He shrugs it off like, no big deal, because he can already see every move coming. Logan rips into a furious roar and hurls another massive slash, but Wish just twirls aside, letting the blade whiz right past him, and he decides he's done playing around, then tells Logan, clear as day, that he's coming for him. He rips off a wild mid-air spin, and rockets forward way faster than any normal merchant should, and it's like, which shatters Logan's spirit as panic claws up his throat. He's just left staring like, what the hell is this kid? Logan's head spins, because Wish didn't just slip his heavy swing, he snapped in a perfectly clean counter. That kid's footwork is lightning fast, and Logan can't even process how he ended up getting beaten by some little brat. He clamps down harder on his sword, but the pressure crushes his hold, and he realizes he can't keep the threat off him. Every single blow, meanwhile, out in the village, the townsfolk just stand there with their mouths open, watching the entire fight play out like it's happening in slow motion. And the crowd is going wild, shocked at how one-sided this all is. Everybody's staring like, wait, is this kid really just some merchant? Lilium just grins and says it's a total cakewalk for Wish, because back when, he was part of the hero's party. Mayor Zebman is left stunned by the news, and Lilium wastes no time explaining exactly how life works for adventurers. They reveal the full ranking system, D climbing all the way up to S, while the hero's crew sits at the very top. She rips apart the chart and points to the tiers, making it crystal clear that each person's unique power gets judged piece by piece. She boasts that Wish is so ruthless he can one-shot a demon, even while he's stuck working as a merchant, then leaves the mayor staring in total awe. Lilium stares at the crooked fight and bursts out that Logan looks like he hasn't even earned a rank. It's painfully clear to everyone watching, Wish is about to take this fight and win. Logan starts losing it. He's yelling, swearing, and insisting there's no way in hell he'd ever get beaten by a kid. But then his expression flips, and he blurts out that he's been waiting for this exact moment all along. He insists he was only waiting for Wish to dash into his attack range, so he could unload his attack, and then he starts hyping himself up, swearing he can't possibly lose to a guy like this, right as it hits. Even Milfana spots it, and when his sword sparks, he blurts out in shock that it's literally bursting into flames. Logan snaps into a special swordsmanship skill, pouring every ounce of power into a colossal flaming strike, full throttle. A slash tears straight through the ground, and right in the middle of it, it seems to snag Wish itself. Logan erupts into laughter, bragging that he landed a direct hit, then blurts out that he was finally getting what he deserved. Logan unleashes his massive fire blast with a thunderous boom, then rips into the air screaming at the top of his lungs. Logan stands there soaking it all in, as the smoke finally clears and the villagers, and Mayor Zebman, just stare in stunned triumph. They're hunting the win. Then his face drains to pure white the moment he sees something he can't believe. He can't believe it, standing there, staring through the dust and flames, while his wishes just fall to the ground. Totally fine, Mayor Zebman and Milfang go over the kid, while Logan crumbles into a losing run. His mind reeled, asking how anyone could possibly survive a direct hit like that and still walk away. Just laughs and says, man, but Lilium doesn't even blink. She's unimpressed because they only got. Logan basically got lucky because that guy was wildly inexperienced. Logan just stammered, looking like his world is crashing down. Wish thinks back, realizing Logan's status wasn't a glitch at all. Yeah, they've got some crazy high-tier skills, but trust me, it's nothing next to guys like Hero 11, who can blow up a whole castle with a single hit. Wish just stands there grinning like he owns the place, completely unfazed as he asks Logan if this is going to keep going. Logan is trembling hard, sweat pouring through his. He rips at his clothes as the truth hits. There's no way he can beat someone like this. He drops to his knees in the dirt, choking out the truth. He lost it all, and the whole village erupts. Everyone starts cheering, then throwing the biggest celebration for the big victory hits, and Lilium is absolutely buzzing that they actually pulled it off, while Wish just laughs along like it's nothing. But the party gets snatched away out of nowhere. Suddenly, a massive tornado rips through the village. Wish slammed his shoulder into the wind, fighting the gale as he yelled out. The wind is blasting harder and harder. Then he suddenly hears a sound. That vibration rips through his chest, and he can't tell if it's a roar. Lilium snaps her head up and stammers, because she's staring at something appearing in the sky that she absolutely can't wrap her mind around. A gigantic, scaled-winged beast crashes down right in the heart of it all. Boom, it's the demon dragon. Wish is completely stunned, staring up like he can't breathe, because that massive sight isn't some rumor at all, it's the legendary dragon Fawnies. Whole village flips into total chaos. People shriek about a monster and bolt for their lives. While one of the guys tries to bully Mayor Zebman into moving, the old man just plants himself and snaps that it's pointless. Zebman locks eyes on the creature and instantly realizes this is the real guardian from the old Sea of Trees legends, and he's dead sure it's all over, like the whole world is about to crash down right here, any second. One guard loses his cool and bolts, screaming for anyone at all, to come and save him. But Logan isn't letting him slip away. He yanks the guy by his clothes and growls that he better not even think about running. Logan is totally snapping. He starts throwing out cash and begging the guard, please, stay here and protect me. A shout rings out for Logan just as the dragon's massive claw slams down, blasting the guards backward and scattering them like nothing. Wish stares at the dragon and can't shake the fear that it's really hunting Logan and the others. The heat hits him so hard it's almost unbearable. He can feel it. He snatches his sword and then Logan bolts off, leaving everyone else in the dust. He muttered a wish under his breath, realizing his instinct to help had just slammed him straight into a nightmare. But right then, the dragon throws open its giant jaws, right in front of his face. Four knees are pressing in on him, and the sheer terror hits. This is what a real brush with death feels like, so he grits his teeth and admits, yeah, this is the legendary symbol of terror everyone's been hyping. Elf Girl and Milfina come sprinting in, yelling his name, demanding to know if he's okay. But Wish shuts them down and tells them, "Don't worry about me." Then he slams the point home. Everyone needs to focus on getting the villagers out of there. The elf girl snaps back instantly, practically yelling at him not to be stupid, because no way he's taking that thing on alone. And Milfina jabs her gaze up at the monster, shouting that Fawnees isn't just strong, he's got the power of a demon lord. Milfina's still panicking over the monster being on demon lord level, but Wish just turns back and says it'll be fine, because he's got her divine protection backing him up, acting all icy calm about it, even though Milfina demands he look back and ask for confirmation, but she just glares at him like he's insane, right up. And then she totally snaps, scratching at her head in pure frustration, screaming because she knows he won't back down. So, she jabs a finger at him and screams that she'll go do her piece of the job, then race right back. As she bolts off with the elf girl, she whips around mid-run and yells that if he so much as dies, she'll never forgive him. Wish watches them disappear, shouts that he's got it handled now that he's alone, and finally turns his full attention to the dragon, and just like that, his special ability snaps into action and hunts down a gap. He plants his feet as the system flashes that a weakness has been spotted. So he clenches his teeth and understands it. At a power level this monstrous, he gets exactly one chance to land the strike in the perfect spot. Turns out it's right there on the beast's leg. Wish clocks the monster's one true weakness, its front left leg, then dares himself to push his power as far as it'll possibly go. The colossal dragon bellowed a nightmarish roar and snapped its jaws shut. His wish hits, and suddenly his eyes flare bright as he realizes he can track every single move Fawnees makes. The power is finally working. And even with that dragon towering over him like a living mountain, he's still scrambling to figure out how he can keep this pace, especially since he realizes a straight-up clash might be suicide, so he decides his best move is to dodge everything instead. The beast hammers the ground with a massive claw strike strong enough to crack the earth, and somehow, Wish barely gets out of the way in time. He's planted there, chest heaving, forcing himself to calm his pounding heart, telling himself with pure grit that he can actually do this. He locks eyes with the beast, spots the only remaining target, the front left leg, and bets everything on one clean strike to that weak spot, because the moment he lands it, it's over. Then bam, he spots the dragon's head whip forward out of thin air, and he can barely choke out a word before he's forced to sprint through the village streets, while a monster's massive body barrels through the houses right on his heels. The dragon is smashing the village to the ground, and the locals are scrambling to escape with their lives. One of the girls blurts, "Was that crazy roar the dragon?" then instantly screams, "Make a wish." The wishes got jammed right in the heart of the record, barely rising as dust and smoke swallowed the whole place. He's like, I just need one clean hit on that weak spot. But the way it's set up, it's gonna be brutal, and he already knows it. Especially when that beast is looming right over him, crushing his confidence, and making this fight feel absolutely impossible. He starts to crumble inside, thinking there's absolutely no way they can beat an opponent this absurd. Then, footsteps hit the ground hard as a voice roars, "No, you don't. You're not getting to let that dragon have its way." Lilium stands over Wish like a shield, swearing she won't let him die, while Milfina blasts out a thunderous shout to back her up. Wish can barely process what he's seeing. He blurts their names and freezes there, with them standing ready to guard him. Lilium slams into a fighting stance and warns the dragon to brace itself for what's coming next. Lilium thrusts a finger at the giant beast, screams that it's about to get with her finishing punch, and the next hit is coming fast. But Wish is still panicking in the background, scrambling for any way to claw his way out of there alive. He keeps his hand locked on his sword, and his thoughts spiral a mile a minute, trying to figure out his next move, because the second he makes a choice, everything changes since the giant dragon looms in place, then erupts in a thunderous roar that shakes the whole area. Lilium and Milfina dig in and stand their ground, while that deep voice drawls that it's been ages since they faced anyone with real spine. Then the dragon locks eyes with them, and with a grin, declares the fight was fun, before calling them out as mere humans. The entire group instantly freezes in pure shock, because they can't wrap their heads around it. The monster just spoke to them. The beast basically shrugs like, "Of course I can talk," because it's operating on a whole other level beyond any monster they've ever laid eyes on. Lilium isn't scared anymore. Rage takes over as she starts trembling, jabs a finger at the dragon, and erupts, shouting at it too, demanding to know how it dared to try and kill Wish like that while Milfina stands right beside her. The dragon leans over them and asks, "You still freaking out about that roar from earlier?" He explained it wasn't some fancy line at all. It was his way of saying, "Thanks for putting up such an insane fight." Milfina snaps completely, then blurts, "What kind of thank you is this?" because it almost turns her into ash. But the dragon casually reveals in detail that it didn't land a hit on her for that exact reason, and it knocks the words clean out of her mouth. It even apologizes for dragging the group into all that chaos, and honestly, that's such a weird vibe from a giant monster. And then it hits you, this wasn't even a hunt for them at all. It was just the thing chasing some other guys down. Wishes gets caught off guard and blurts out, "Wait, are you talking about Logan and his crew?" The dragon's eyes pinch shut with fury as it spits, "You bastards," because they set the forest on fire, right where it lives. Turns out Logan wasn't even going all out. He was just messing around, flexing a brand new skill while his friends hyped him non-stop, which made the dragon furious because they bolted without even trying to smother the flames. Logan totally snaps, sweating buckets as he finally clocks the brutal, petty reason the dragon is hunting him. The dragon lunges close and roars about how much the heat tortures it, while Logan slams into the dirt, cowering and begging for mercy. Wish watches the whole disaster unfold, then says, "All right, I finally get what's going on, even if this is totally ridiculous." But then doubt hits him. What's up with the sea of trees? They said it had a barrier that traps everyone inside. The dragon locks eyes with them and growls, "How did you even get out?" Like it's proving the seal never broke on its watch. Milfinus blurts out, all jittery, and confesses she actually shut the barrier down for a moment while they were getting away. She tells them the dragon most likely slipped in behind them through that gap, then flashes a grin like, "Yeah, because I'm a goddess, I can do stuff like this." Guilt crushed her as the dragon chase exploded around them, so she bowed her head and blurted, "I'm so sorry," right to everyone. Wish shrugs it off and admits he's just dead relieved. He finally has the real reason everything went sideways. Milfuna bursts into cheers the second Logan gets grabbed. Village guards haul him off while he's left tied up, screaming that he hates his life with every breath. I look around the village, and you can tell those buildings got wrecked for real, but the best part is nobody ended up dying. Wish just stands there grinning like crazy, soaking up the pure luck of still being in one piece after everything that went down. That elf girl is anything but chill. She crosses her arms and snaps that she truly believed she was a goner. Wish tries to shake it off and swear the nightmare is finally over. Then he hears someone start to panic. Mayor Zebman suddenly bursts into a heartrending scream of pure despair, and it hits Wish like a freight train, leaving him completely blindsided. Villagers swarm in, and one guy jabs his finger toward the wreckage as Milfina stands there, utterly baffled by what she's seeing. Then the vibe flips hard, everyone suddenly clocks it. Things are getting seriously bad fast. Wish hurries over and asks the mayor if he's okay, but the old man just stays on his knees, staring at the splintered wood like it broke more than the town. The mayor finally admits the dragon crushed the village storehouse, and right then, Zish starts getting a really bad feeling. The mayor screams that every last crumb of their food is gone, and Wish and Milfinus erupt into total, jaw-dropping panic, screaming at full volume. Milfinus's panic explodes as he blurts out, "Can we just go beg the nearby villagers for help?" But the mayor shuts it down fast, saying they usually swap for everything, and right now, they've got absolutely nothing left to give. Milfina's tongue turns to stone, while Wish finally grasps just how terrifying this mess has become for all of them. Wish whips around to the dragon and demands, "So what are we supposed to do now?" But the massive lizard only growls back like that's all it's got. Then she finally pitched their idea, "Let's all head to my forest and hunt, because it's stacked with meat and bursting with fruit." Mayor Zebman's eyes shimmer like he's holding back tears as he blurts out, "Wait, are you really okay with us doing this?" Wish rubs the back of his head and says, "Look, I'm already tangled up in this, so yeah, I've got your back." The entire village crowd erupts into wild jumping and cheering, like they just hit the jackpot. Milfina finally exhales, convinced they might actually survive, while Wish only lets out a tired little laugh. But then Wish snaps back to reality. This forest isn't safe at all, and they're terrified they'll run into another giant bear again. Wish can't stop replaying that terrifying bear in his mind, and deep down he knows, he's dead on. They're diving straight back into the forest of memories. Deep in the woods, a girl bolts through the trees, gasping for air like death is right behind her. Clutching a basket of berries, she can't stop wondering why she's trapped in here with no way out. She crumples to the ground, sobbing hard and begging for help as a pack of wolves tightens in on her. But then, crash, the dragon slams into the clearing and blurts out that they've finally made it. He thanks the dragon for saving his life, but the giant lizard shrugs it off like it's nothing. Lilium craned her neck at the colossal trees and admitted she never once imagined she'd end up back here. When she halts and stares at her hand, a weird off feeling crawls over her like something just isn't right. Wish snaps out of it and asks what's wrong, but she's so deep in her own thoughts she can't even answer. Lilium freezes as she senses something seriously off in the forest. Then a colossal wave of power rips back into her body like a tidal surge. She freezes mid-step, like some raw energy is roaring awake inside her. And then, it keeps building, deeper and deeper until, which makes Wish stare at her like she's gone insane, because he feels absolutely nothing different at all. But then Wish spots something up ahead, freezes and blurts out in pure shock as he spots that same girl from earlier, trapped in a tiny clearing as a pack of starving wolves closes in. Wish bursts into a sprint toward the fight, screaming that those monsters are about to wreck someone. But the wolves snap on him instantly, swarming in from both sides to slam him away from the girl. He yanks his blade out and spits a curse under his breath, clocking that they're massively outnumbered, and the situation turns into full-blown nightmare mode, right up until little Lilium suddenly bursts past him, races straight for the wolves and orders him. She's taking the lead now. She shoots him a confident smirk, tells him to sit tight, and dares him to watch, because the moment she starts, he'll finally see what she's truly capable of. Lilium erupts with magic, screams an ice bullet command, and razor-sharp shards of frozen fury blast into the wolves, smashing them backward. Wish and Milfina just freeze dead in place, staring at it all unfold right before their eyes, unable to speak a single word. Lilium's just standing there like a pro, and the second he loses his mind, he screams that she's using real magic, while she calmly shrugs and swears it's nothing. She whips around with a massive grin and asks him if she's the most amazing person he's ever seen. Like, clearly, a lot more than that. She soaked up every bit of the attention as she spilled her feelings. Then mana surged through her entire body, and that rush of power lit up a sudden, unstoppable confidence. She's still trying to wrap her head around it, whispering, "Why is this happening so suddenly?" Because just minutes ago, she was totally powerless. That's when the dragon snaps into the conversation and admits he saw this coming, because they're already miles deep inside the sea of trees. Wish stared up at the massive creature, totally blank, and asked what on earth he meant. The dragon warns them this forest is riddled with monopools, and the closer they push toward the center, the more brutal the energy becomes. He asks if they've ever been here, then shoots them a look and says, "Last time, you were just lurking at the very edge of the woods." The dragon won't stop talking, saying that if they'd only stayed right at the forest's edge, those mana pools never would have mattered for her at all, even with Lilium squeezing out a little magic, that wolf ahead of them refuses to budge, planting itself firmly in place and growling like it means war. Turns out her attack barely even scratched it, and Milfina snapped, because the predator kept closing in, and suddenly the whole situation felt like it was about to fall. The young forest girl stays pinned to the ground, sobbing for rescue, while Wish scrambles to find the one opening to step in. Wish finally clocks that time's slipping away and screams that everything's going terribly, because the girl is seconds from getting caught. Until then the dragon snaps, finally done with the racket, and strides right up to the beasts, meets their eyes, then growls, "Get lost." With one sharp command, the wolves get blasted backward like they crashed into a wall, yelping as they get flung straight into the brush, finally clearing the area so the dragon can huff about how easy it was, while Wish barrels over to the girl and demands, "Are you hurt?" She stares up with a trembling voice, insists she's fine, then meets their gaze with wide, shining eyes and blurts out her thanks for pulling her out of the pack. As her breathing finally steadies, she thanks them again, tells them she lives right nearby in Zakan village, and lets them know she's not far at all. The young girl steps up and introduces herself. "My name's Noah Orib," she declares to the group, and with Wish's stance feels a little awkward as he asks, "What are you doing out here all alone?" But she swore she only went out to gather berries for her village, then somehow got turned around and ended up completely lost. Wish starts laying out her side, but Noah keeps laser focus on the job she has to do for Zack and the village. So Wish finally snaps under pressure, trembling as he confesses that he's the one who sabotaged the village's food supply. He breaks down how the food got totally blown away, and then Noah snaps into place, figuring out exactly why they're out here. Wish tells her they're hunting for more food to replace what they lost, and the moment the words land, Noah is left totally speechless. She scans the surrounding woods, then points out, straight up, that just grabbing stuff from the forest isn't going to cut it, because the storage they lost was special, an ice house that kept everything frozen and fresh for ages. Now that it's gone, she can't stop wondering how they'll ever scrounge up enough food to keep every single person in the village fed. In this world, global warming is wrecking everything. Heat is so brutal that food goes bad almost instantly. And Milfina looks genuinely worried as she blurts out, "Okay, but what really happens to someone if they eat food that's already spoiled?" Nowhere tells them it'll straight up annihilate their stomach and bring brutal pain, because Wish isn't trying to end up in agony. Then the dragon blurts out, asking if they should even worry about storage at all. Just go hunt and grab every single meal, no excuses. But William isn't buying that plan. She snaps that having to hunt every single time they want food is straight up exhausting. Wish takes one heartbeat to register what's happening, and when it finally clicks, he gulps hard, because the food situation is way bigger and messier than he ever expected. He stares at his past and admits, almost wistfully, that life would have been perfect if they'd only had a fridge. Then his thoughts spiral into panic as he wonders if it's even possible, and Noah is totally lost, fumbling around, trying to spit out that weird word, refrigerator, while pure confusion sprawls all over his face. Milfina bursts in, explaining the concept herself. This is the kind of tool that keeps everything inside cool, no matter how scorching it gets outside. No one in the group bats an eye, especially when Milfina calls it a special box, powered by electricity to keep everything fresh. They just stand there, staring like everything went over their heads, while Wish scrambles to explain how electricity works. And to them, it's pure mystery. Wish starts sweating and scrambles for simpler words, insisting a fridge is basically an ice house that skips the ice. It finally clicks for Lilium. Wait, a tool like that would be perfect for our travels. And Noah's voice drops as she reminds everyone that pulling something like that off in this world is basically impossible. Lilium can't stop wondering if this refrigerator thing is some kind of demon realm magic, like a top-tier spell box. But Milfina cuts in instantly, calmly setting the record straight. It's a specialized tool used by a reincarnator. And right then, Milfina snatches Noah by the arm and blares to everyone that she's a reincarnator too. Noah can barely even process it. Noah goes deaf, still in shock as Milfina reveals she knows, because Noah carries the exact same god scent her father wore. The news smashes into Wish and Lilium like a freight train, and they just freeze, mouths gaping, trying to wrap their heads around it. Now that Noah's biggest secret is out in the open, she looks totally exposed, like the walls just caved in, and the entire vibe of the group instantly shifts. Lilium just stands there, mind spinning, while Noah leans in and asks if he's really serious about her being. Reincarnator's Wish starts looking seriously freaked out, as Milfina begins to explain how things work in this world. Reincarnators don't just fight, they crank out insane weapons like the Volvan, so everyone assumes they're nothing but dangerous monsters. Nobody clocks how tense they're getting, and then, bam, they rush in to reassure them, don't worry, even as they look totally rough. She awkwardly admits it's true, she really is from another world, but it turns out she's not a hero at all, just a powerless nobody who doesn't have a single special cheat power or magic. No reincarnator goodies at all, because she was. They treated her like total dead weight. After the ones who dragged her into this world, they basically dumped her on the street and walked away. And dumped her on the streets to wander like a forgotten beggar until she finally stumbled into Zakan village. Wishes was completely stunned, as his mind ran wild with every brutal thing she had to endure just to stay alive. You could practically feel the kid's pain in your chest after hearing about that brutal, lonely past. Wish tilts her gaze at Noah and tells him straight up, she can feel it like he can see it, that she's been through the ringer lately. But Lilium barges in and says, let's set the complicated stuff aside for a moment, and then Noah kept messing with Wish's hair as he asked if it was finally time to talk about the refrigerator. Noah agreed. The Wish leans in and asks Noah if she can explain everything, and Noah's ready to spill it all, right as she's helping out, and she shoots him a serious look, then kicks things off by repeating the exact words she said earlier, about how, back in her world, a refrigerator is basically a lifesaver, powered by this thing called electricity. But because it's a tool dragged from a completely different world, it just can't work here. Lilium can't stop replaying it in her head, while Wish starts hunting for another way out. He studies them, then asks, do you seriously need to build a whole refrigerator from scratch? Because the real goal is simple, stay cool, and Wish instantly clocks what she's saying. Lilium lifts a shard of ice, grins and says, why not just use magic? And then she casually points to her own ice magic as the perfect fix for their situation. She shrugs off the job for a second, then reality hits. She starts to worry. She tells Wish that water mana is in rough shape right now because of global warming, and Wish looks totally crushed by the news until So the massive dragon steps in and declares, this isn't a problem at all, and Wish just stares there, utterly baffled. So yeah, the dragon leans in and growls, so you already forgot about that massive monopool I told you about, buried deep in the forest. Because it's a magic essence pool, it's like a whole mountain of power is just sitting there, and Lilium is utterly stunned by what she stands with the others in a clearing where the lights drift through the air, and she's blown away. Can't believe so much water magic essence is just floating here, untouched. And right away she feels it. This place is buzzing with mana way more than normal, packed with raw energy, and she beams and glances around, practically grinning as she admits she's never been anywhere that felt this easy on her heart before. So the dragon leans in and demands a serious answer. Can Lilium use all that extra mana to forge ice that never melts? William locks in a determined stare, pumps herself up like she's ready to explode, and declares she can absolutely do it. Lilium's hype levels hit the ceiling, fists clenched tight as she dares everyone to bring it on, but just stood there, utterly lost, staring up at the dragon and blurting out, What are you even doing? The dragon tells Wish point blank she's honing her focus and stacking every last bit of mana, because throwing magic this heavy takes brutal concentration, and it totally blindsides him. Wish muttered the words back to himself, stunned at just how insane this high-powered magic is about to be. And right then everything just snaps, bam. A massive shockwave smashes into the group, totally blindsiding them as they all go sprawling mid. Leaving Wish scrambling, he struggles to stay on his feet as he tries to wrap his head around what the heck is happening. A massive, spiraling storm of energy detonates upward straight in front of them, blasting the air apart, and the pressure is so brutal Wish can barely drag in a breath. He grunts through the tearing wind, terrified it's strong enough to rip him clean off his feet. As he locks eyes on that light, doubt crashes in. Could this be the moment he finally sees what Lilium can do when she's not pulling her punches? Lilium just stares at her hands, smiles like she's finally found something real, and whispers that she hasn't felt this way in forever. Then power starts roaring through her body. Lilium takes her spot, braces herself, and snaps her hands into position, then grins at the crew like, "All right, it's finally time. Let's show them what I've got." A massive burst of energy detonates, and a colossal wave of ice magic slams into the area, reshaping everything in its path. Wish gets slammed out of nowhere, totally blindsided, but Lilium just whoops, ecstatic that she finally landed her move. She strikes a killer pose with a tiny ice flower perched on her head, then proudly declares her special ice magic is finally finished. Lilium leans in and asks Wish, "Am I really just the most amazing person ever?" But Wish doesn't even react, he just stands there, silently judging her like her name is painfully lame. Wish stares at the results, stunned, and admits he never imagined her power could get this insane. Her stats scream that she's level 100, massive magic points, so insane she's leagues above anyone like Four Knees. From the sidelines, the dragon glares at her and whispers into Wish, calling her a total monster. The dragon drops this wild claim that she used to be a top executive in the Demon Lord's army, and Wish cuts in like, "Nope, she's bigger than that, because she's just messing around in the background." The dragon peers over and snaps, asking if he said something, but Wish just waves it off and insists it's nothing he should even worry about. When he looks back on it all, Wish drops the truth. This guy was on a whole different level, and he can't stop admitting how blown away he is. The dragon goes silent for one tense beat, then finally fires off. "So, aren't you even a little scared of that woman?" And Wish just. He sits with it for a heartbeat, then admits her power totally caught him off guard, and if anyone asked if he was scared, he'd probably stall for a second. But then he makes it crystal clear. His fear is of her at all, it's only about her magic power. Right there Lilium stands there trembling, grumbling that it's freezing, and Wish cuts in like, "You don't exactly look terrifying right now." Then Lilium bursts into tears, screaming for Wish to wait up, so Wish snaps back, yelling, "Are you seriously cold too?" And that's where the moment, leaving. The dragon watched it all unfold, then leaned in and told Wish he didn't hate that part of himself at all. That elf girl whoops the moment the magic ice is finally ready, and Wish goes full hype mode, shouting to everyone that they're finishing the fridge right now. Everyone erupts in cheers, throwing their hands up in the air, and right from that moment on, they all start putting. They all huddled up, leaned in, and kicked into high gear to finally build that refrigerator. Wish leans in and reveals they use special wood from the Sea of Trees, because it clings to the cold, an advantage that's about to change everything, and the story cuts off right there. Then he slammed treated boards into place, even calling on water magic to choke off the cold air from leaking out, while he kept going, forcing the job through before time ran out. While Lilium keeps unleashing her magic, the whole project surges forward at lightning speed, until the countdown is about to blow. The whole group finally steps back, erupts in cheers, and celebrates as the new building is officially done and ready to go. Everyone's ready, then Wish shouts at the villagers to grab their attention. Then he darts to the open door, points straight at it, and yells for everyone to rush over and see it for themselves. He flashes a massive grin and tells them, this is the village's brand new food storehouse. The crew cracks open the inside, jam-packed with supplies and ice that shines so bright, Wish calls it their refrigerator. One of the village guys is completely stunned. He swears the ice flour won't melt a single bit, even when he touches it. Noah practically sighs in relief as he steps indoors, grinning like, man, this feels ice cold in here, even with the sun still blazing outside. One of the village guys yells, we are finally safe, no more worrying about food. And even the mayor gets choked up, drops to a bow, and tells him just how grateful everyone is for what he did. Then he leans in and says but since they saved the whole village, everyone's grinning from ear to ear, standing right there, laughing. Then you can just feel the moment right before it cuts off like. Zebman actually starts tearing up as he thanks them one more time, so overwhelmed that he can barely finish his words. Grabs Wish's hand, while Lilium brushes it off like it's nothing. Wish's face goes a little blank, like he's overwhelmed, but then later, the whole group finally crashes for a break together. Lilia beams and says she's so relieved everyone's happy. Wish tries to shrug it off like it wasn't a big deal, but Lilium snaps back instantly, asking, what does he even mean by all that? She cuts him off immediately and tells him point blank that they're the reason those people smiled in the first place. And it turns out that doing it was an absolute win. Wish finally grins then. Then Milfina jumps in right beside him, chiming, we truly built something incredible together. Milfina scoots in her clothes, leans close and grills Wish, like she already knows he spotted something and she's about to reveal it. Lilium drops the huge idea, and right as she does, she points out the brand new refrigerator they just set up, while Wish and Milfina stare at the. In the storage room, Milfina drops the bombshell that could shake the entire world. Lilium just stands there, staring at the machine like it's about to explode, while Wish keeps chanting how it'll change the world. Then he looks. She looks completely thrown off, like her brain's buffering, and she can't even tell what she's trying to say. Milfina kicks off her explanation, starting to lay out her reasoning for him. She gets right to the core of this fridge is basically soaked in magic ice that never melts, and Wish fully agrees. Milfina lights up with excitement and urges him to picture what would happen if this tech spread across the whole world. Wish takes a beat, then his mind zooms out to the massive scale of that idea. No way that's small. And then Milfina breaks it down, showing exactly how many people can finally keep their food fresh for the long haul. Milfina says she just knew it was like that, and Wish jumps in, yeah, she's right, no doubt. But then he slams to a stop and tells her to wait a second. Bam! A light bulb clicks in his head as he starts piecing together how food usually stays moving. He knows keeping it fresh means burning a fortune on ice. And that's when the prices skyrocket, locking good food behind rich people only. So basically, it's bad news for everyone else. And with this refrigerator, the whole cost of running things would plummet, like that. Anyone could keep their food fresh and shuffle it around for way less money than it used to cost. Imogen's about to spark a whole new way to sell everything, because she's already locked onto how these machines will flip everyone's life upside down. Milfona leans in with a huge grin, asks if he's finally seeing it, and reminds him she warned him this day would come. Wish finally meets his eyes and clicks. She understands the whole truth at last, and he leans in to tell her straight up that he really did build something absolutely incredible. He's hyped to the max, calling it absolutely amazing, while Lilium just stands there, realizing the entire world is seconds away from changing forever. Milfina starts spiraling into the future, and then she blurts out, if it really plays out like that. So yeah, if there's less food around, there's way less stuff that'll spoil or end up getting tossed in the trash. And she blurts out that once food can travel the whole world, prices will crash so hard they'll barely exist, like crazy cheap. Leaving Wish looked completely stunned as she blurted out that even folks working like slaves would finally get to eat their fill. She points toward the village and tells him to look, because his refrigerator already saved this town. And right there, a local guy steps up, telling them both just how truly grateful they really are. A village woman grins, saying this brand new machine will finally stop the hunger and keep everyone fed. All around them, people are grinning like crazy, because they know their lives are about to explode into something way better from here on out. The whole crowd is buzzing. People are shouting that the tech is insanely cool and that it's going to change everything for them. Mayor Zebman gets choked up as he tells Milfina that he and everyone there truly can't thank Wish and his friends enough for everything they've done. Wish stares far into the future, already plotting how his brand new tech will finally light up lives around the world. And he bellows that this is exactly what a merchant is meant to do. He's locked in on turning the whole world into something far more prosperous. And Lilium just flashes a smile and nods like, yeah, using a refrigerator is exactly the right move. And it's clear his whole team, Wish Watch, runs on that kind of genius. He looks at Milfina and Noah beside him and realizes nothing can block him from crushing his goals. Then the fire in his chest ignites. He rockets a huge thumbs up to the crowd, then officially kicks off his gigantic refrigerator giveaway plan as everyone erupts in cheers. Everyone screams in sync, trying to get things moving later that night in a nearby city. Yet the streets are unnervingly quiet, but the buildings still stand proud under the stars. But the moment you step into the local tavern, the mood turns grim fast. A lone guy sits at the table, staring at his drink in dead silence, like something truly went horribly wrong. Logan gulps down a brutal drink, snaps a curse, and can't stop wondering what the hell is happening in that village, or how everything spiraled into pure chaos. He replays that close call in his head, snatching a tiny opening and slipping away by the skin of his teeth, yet he's still totally shaken. Logan's mind won't stop spinning. Images of that terrifying dragon keep blasting through his thoughts, and he's sure taming a beast like that is impossible for any normal human. He snaps mid-tavern, screaming at the top of his lungs about how much he hates the merchant named Wish while he slams his drink onto the table with all his strength, yelling that the whole situation has him fuming. Logan slumps there, drenched in sweat and looking utterly broken, and he doesn't even realize the hooded guy across the room is staring him down. The guy from the back of the bar storms over and asks Logan if he's actually still alive, and that hits him so hard he can't even react because the stranger demands to hear how Logan's wild rant ends, leans in like he can't wait. Logan starts to spot the face hiding under that hood, and the second he does, his eyes go wide. He can barely force out the words as the guy. He yanks his hood off like it's a magic trick, and bam, turns out he's the famous hero, making Logan's jaw drop as he snaps to it and realizes he's staring straight at Ravan, the top-tier legend everyone's been talking about. Logan bursts into nervous laughter, telling Ravan he never, no way, would have guessed he'd find the hero sitting in a place like this. Ravan's just posted up at the bar, acting untouchable as he shrugs off everything, and orders the barkeep to pour him a drink. Logan snaps into thought and realizes, wow, it's been ages since he last heard even a single rumor about the hero's party. He leans in and asks Ravan straight up, are you guys really in town for a quest, or is this some other mission you're keeping quiet? Ravan takes a sip of his drink, squinting at how oddly quiet the party's been, when a voice from the back of the building erupts, screaming that someone has no money, which kicks off a brutal flashback. Garius snaps, demanding answers, screaming about what's happening and who drained every last supply. One of the guys just brushes it off, laughing and straight up asking if the real reason they're out of supplies is because they blew it all on gorging bullbear meat and downing pricey liquor. He's just standing there grinning, casually raving about how amazing the food and drinks are like it's nothing at all. Garius isn't letting it slide. He's shouting at them, demanding answers for how they're out of potions, like, how do you run out when they almost died out there? Mage Pal scrambles to dump the blame, insisting Wish is the one who deals with every item, while Sage Knoll snaps at the guys to stop taking their rage out on her. In the present, Ravan slams his mug onto the table, shuts down the small talk, and demands Logan spill everything he knows about Zack and the village. Ravan shuts his eyes like the final click just hit, telling Logan, I get it, every single bit, like he truly understands perfectly. He figures he might as well get moving, while Logan stares him down and growls that he's heading out to pay those people a visit himself. Ravan's eyes go ice cold and creepy as he grins, saying he can't wait to see Wish again. Back at the inn, the second you think it's calm, a guy inside one of the rooms starts screaming at the top of his lungs. Garius is snapping at the seams, freaking out as he shows Mage Pal his massive sword, only to reveal it's completely chipped to pieces. Ravan just strides down the hallway, snapping back that he has zero clue how he's supposed to know anything about their gear. He rubs his head like a brutal headache is coming, groaning that now he has to juggle weapon maintenance on top of everything else. Everything's crumbling, and he blurts out that he's done with the chaos, especially the loans and penalty fees that are slowly choking them to death. Garius has hit his limit. He's screaming at everyone to stop playing around and deal with it now. He calls out to Mage Pal, asking if she wants to go, while Sage Knoll just stands there, begging them both to shut it down before things spiral even worse. With the Wish gone, the party's vibe instantly detonates. Now everyone's just miserable, and Ravan knows it's all because of that guy, Knoll looks like. She's losing her mind because he left before his Wish could even finish his work. Ravan clutches his head and snarls at Wish, calling him an incompetent bastard. Then the rest of them are left behind as everything spirals, dragging them down, so he snaps, decides they've got no choice but to hunt for her. Garius spots a brand new merchant on the spot, and the second he locks eyes with the guy, his patience snaps and his temper starts spiraling, screaming at him to cut the games, demanding to know if he's actually going. Actually a merchant, yeah, and the poor guy's terrified, trembling hard as he scrambles to. I owe you an apology, but the workload is absolutely wild right now. Between hauling all the gear, I'm drowning. They're all set to take on the guild, but first they've got to juggle the money, map every dungeon, and dig up info on everything, or they can't even move. That new merchant is completely cracking. He's bawling that he can't survive this workload. It's way too heavy for one person, so 11 leans right into his space and starts blasting trash talk, calling him all mouth for someone who's absolutely awful at the job. He even brings up how even Wish, what he calls a total piece of baggage, handled all this stuff just fine, no problem at all. And that's when the new guy totally loses it. He's trembling out of control and screaming like the pressure is crushing him alive. Later on, Levin's panic kicks in as sweat pours down his face, because everything keeps collapsing, and he can't make sense of why their plans suddenly stopped working. He cranks himself up by reminding his brain he's the hero, but it still won't let go. Everything's a wreck, and it all spiraled the moment that one guy vanished. Then a dark look slams across his face, He's found it, the answer. For now, he's letting Wish back into the party. He's convinced that once Wish stops pulling his weight, he'll just toss him aside again, because in his eyes, Wish never had real talent in the first place. Meanwhile, 11 isn't just being modest. He's convinced that every Wish ought to feel honored for the chance to help someone as important as him. Next thing you know, Garius and Pal finally reach their destination, but the trip has absolutely drained them, like they're running on fumes. Garius screams at the top of his lungs that they finally made it to the village where Wish is hiding, and you can tell he's seething about it the whole time. Powell whips his head around and grumbles that the houses look like they belong in some trashy frontier dump, and Noel immediately jumps in, calling the whole place disgusting. Pal freezes mid-step, eyes widening with curiosity, and demands answers about what their old teammate has been up to lately. She says that this dude Levin talked to swears the whole point of his wishes is to waste time building some bizarre magic device, a refrigerator, and it sounds totally pointless to her. Then Pal blurts out, asking if that guy would even choose to come back to the party, and that's when Garius just stares, totally baffled, like the answer should be staring him in the face. Garius flashes this cocky grin, and tells him they're basically doing him a huge favor just by going all this way to see him. As they start climbing the hill, Garius keeps strutting like a hero, smugly insisting that Wish should be crying happy tears just because they're actually here to drag him out. But then Pal's gaze snaps to something strange. She spots a nearby building, leans in, and demands to know what she's staring at because the place just feels wrong. Meanwhile, Wish is slammed with work. He's dragging this brutal wooden crate stuffed with scrolls and all kinds of tools like nothing can stop him. Until he slams to a stop, stares in total disbelief, and blurts out, "What on earth am I looking at?" Wish spots a shop sign, slams the brakes, and realizes he's staring straight at the magic tool everyone's been whispering about. And he blurts out what he's even supposed to do with it. But then his sentence dies in his throat when he spots something totally different. He spots Hero 11 standing there with the whole crew, blurts out his name, and just freezes, totally stunned at what he's seeing leading him. Noah right there makes him panic because Wish suddenly demands, why would the hero's party ever come to a place like this? Levin snaps that everything's flipped since they threw him out, and now he's figured out that Wish has some real value. So yeah, that basically explains why this is going off the rails. Levin blurts out that he's giving him another shot, and the guy just freezes in total disbelief, clinging to chance like it can't possibly be real. Levin slaps a hand on Wish's shoulder and blurts out the biggest news. He's officially letting Wish back into the hero's party, and then he leans in. He leans in with that smug grin, asks if he's coming back, and acts like Wish would never dare say no. Wish looks absolutely miserable and slammed with stress. Then he only gives a cold no, and 11 ignores him completely and blurts that they have to save the world, then acts like it's simple, like they can just let bygones be bygones. Levin doubles down and declares that the hero's party truly needs his power, yet Wish just stands there, staring like he's completely stuck. They look completely crushed, then finally find their voice to reject him, saying they're glad he asked, but they're sorry. He tells everyone, you know what? This village has been treating me like royalty lately, and right now, every single person here is. That matters to him more than anything, because for the first time in forever, he's actually carved out real friends. Wish tries to finish his line about being good people, but Levin slashes right through it, cutting him off with a quick fake laugh. The mood flips the second Levin starts laughing under his breath, and Wish goes on edge so fast she blurts, "What's wrong?" But Levin twists up with this nasty look, and snaps that he's already heard everything Wish has been up to. Wish gets totally blindsided when Levin needles him for playing around with his magic tools, and 11 keeps pushing the point, saying he's honestly stunned that a former member of the hero's party would sink this low. Acting like it's pathetic that he's out here in the middle of nowhere, wasting his life doing arts and crafts on nothing but wishes. Levin lets out a heavy sigh, grumbles that this whole conversation is turning into a total headache, and then he glances at the building and blurts out about the tiny toy Wish he's been cooking up for days. He suggests, what if I just smash it to pieces? Maybe then Wish will finally start obeying for real. Which leaves Wish shaking with pure terror as he blurts out Levan's name. Yet 11 snaps at him to cool off right as he lunges for his weapon. Then the next part hits fast, just as the moment keeps building. That nasty grin spreads as he goes. Wish should be honored. Now there's nothing left to stop me. So there's no way out. He'll have to march right back to work for the hero's party, exactly like he's supposed to. Levin snaps into action, and without wasting a single second, unleashes one of his top-tier sword techniques. The ground erupts as Levin whips his sword through the air, with jaw-dropping, unstoppable power. Wish groans as the shockwave slams into him, then his eyes widen, He knows this move instantly because he's seen it before. Wish's eyes snap wide the second he realizes something's off. He even tries to convince himself it's different, but the attack hits with a force so brutal, it shatters every expectation. He can't even finish his sentence before everything goes white, as the entire area gets obliterated by a colossal burst of energy and dust, and everyone else just stands there watching. Levin just glares at the wreck, snaps at Wish like a complete idiot for trying to stop it in the first place. He figures, if I'm gonna haul the guy back anyway, I might as well, and he cuts himself off. Finish it the right way, he tells her where she's headed, and the party's rules hit him back for good. Wishes sat hunched over, fighting for every breath while smoke swirled all around. Garius just bursts into laughter from the sidelines, basically saying, "This is exactly the kind of power I expect from Levin." And Noel and Powell just stare on with smug grins, and Noel chuckles, saying this is exactly what happens to anyone who dares defy them. Levin just smirks through the wreckage, and the question hits him. Did he go too far with that last strike? Levin lowers his gaze, shrugs it off like, yeah, it's a pain, but whatever. Then he decides he'll just haul Wish straight back to the capital. Then Wish jolts upright, gasping for air. Levin snaps completely, totally shocked by what he's seeing as he screams at Wish, demanding to know how that guy is still standing after a hit like that. Wish wipes the sweat off his face and admits, yeah, that was a close call, and as he thinks back to the right on that last, breathless second, he had to throw down a move or the blast would swallow him whole. He's relieved he slammed the flames out in time. But the truth is, things look grim. Because his hands are trembling and totally numb, he finally gets it. Levin's power isn't just stronger, it's on a whole other level compared to Logan. And it's starting to look like he's about to be in real trouble, like, right now. Looks like Wish surviving didn't back off at all. Levin just got even more fired up to throw down. Levin roars and swings so hard he smashes a massive rock, to dust right in front of Wish. Levin snaps his tongue and realizes, too late, that the shot was meant for his head. He's staring at the kid like, no way, he actually thought he could. Levin gets shoved back so hard he skids over the dirt, fighting to keep his feet under him. Wish stays locked on the offensive. He surges forward so fast he turns into a blur, and it's obvious that why. Wish is getting crushed by the pressure. He grits his teeth through the pain and growls at Levin to just stop. But there's no time to hesitate. He just keeps swinging, throwing every ounce of himself into one brutal counterattack, and back at the party, Pal is completely thrown off. She's questioning whether any of this is even real, while Gary he just stands there, drenched in sweat, then bursts out yelling that nothing like this is supposed to be happening. He's staring at this nobody luggage carrier squaring up against the legendary hero, and it's so wrong it makes his head spin, because he just can't wrap his head around it. How a dude like Wish is actually holding his ground, because the two of them look dead even so. 11 bellows a monster roar and hurls another brutal heavy strike, dead set on finishing this fight, right now. Levin wipes his brow and mutters curses under his breath, like he just slammed straight into a brick wall. And, staring at his strikes missing by inches, he starts to panic, because he can't stop wondering how that kid is dodging literally everything. He tells himself a Wish is only a merchant, not some mystery force, so why does this make absolutely no sense to him? He can't believe how the fight is going, then he glances over and sees it. Wish is trembling, and it drives him up the wall. He can't even process how someone like that Ram keeps pushing him right to the edge. Random guy, he warns him, don't mess with me, because his temper is finally ready to explode. Boil over, he swears he'll never swallow this kind of humiliation, because he's meant to be the hero. And there's absolutely no way he should be terrified of some basic luggage carrier, so he refuses to accept. He forced himself to swallow what was happening right in front of him, then screamed at the top of his lungs like he couldn't hold it in while as he slips back into position, you can practically see it. He's ready to tear everything apart and crush the win. Levin goes all in on his next move, betting everything on his skills and that massive range. No way Wish can't slip out as the hit attack sweeps across the area, while Garius blasts him with a furious, cut it out. Noel panics and blurts, are you actually trying to kill Wish? But Wish doesn't budge. He clocks that dodging impossible since the strike's too wide, so he gulps in a deep breath, drills focus into his mind, and suddenly the world starts crawling in slow motion as his thoughts. He flashes back to every past battle and realizes it. Levin's quick, sure, but Fawny's. That guy was on a whole different planet. He even recalls Lilium staring off, fully convinced her magic was on a totally different level than this. Wish knows he can square up with anybody, no matter how tough they are, as long as he can clock their weak spot. Even when the person he's battling is a legendary hero, that logic still bites, because the pressure keeps cranking higher and higher. Wish finally strikes. He snaps into motion with a secret sword technique of his own, cutting straight through the blast. Levin unleashes his meteor burst at full power, boom, the whole area detonates in a flash, and Garius and the girls hunker down, shielding themselves as a blinding light blasts through, while he grunts, fighting back the crushing pressure. But inside the smoke, Wish collides with the attack head-on. Wham! The clash is so deafening it rings through the air and levels everything in its path. Levan's expression crumples. He swears it's impossible for his sword to be getting outmatched like this, yet Wish still won't stop. He rides the momentum, whips around in a blur, and lands a brutal follow-up strike, so fast it barely leaves time to breathe. The impact snaps Levan's grip like a rubber band. His hero's sword rockets into the sky, and he's left there, stunned with it gone. Levan realizes centrifugal force was what crushed him, yet he's still trying to convince himself it was just a fluke, because he can't bear the truth that he was completely defenseless. He can't stomach the thought of getting beaten by someone like Wish. Wish just locks eyes with him, says it's over, and 11 screams rip through his mind like, this can't be real, and then Wish lands that final, devastating hit. Levin crashes back, wheezing hard for air, barely managing a sentence, just blurting out, why did this happen? Wish stares down at the fallen hero, then points and says his legendary weapon isn't legendary at all. It's chipped. Wish clocks how Levin clearly slacked off on his maintenance, and that becomes the perfect weak spot he can exploit without breaking a sweat. Wish tells him to end it right now, because pushing this fight any further is straight up pointless. Levin mutters pointless under his breath, and his face contorts with pure rage as he's not about to let Wish talk down to him, so he snaps, calls him out, and tells him to quit getting cocky. Levin roars that there's no way Wish thinks he's won with a move like that, and the ground starts to quake from the sheer power Levin is unleashing, shaking the world, making Wish clench his fists as the hero rockets forward, powering up a colossal blast. Levin can't stand being shoved aside by a guy like that. He yelled at the top of his lungs, basically daring him, "Don't you even think about giving me orders." Wish stares as the power spikes sky high, and the second things spiral out of control. He knows he's in real, serious trouble. Wish snaps to the truth. There's no escape from the massive blast barreling straight for him. But then Levin's attack just stops dead. Ice shoots up his arm, freezing everything, and leaves him too. Completely lost, Garius tries to move, then realizes his legs are fused to the ground. As Pal spirals into panic, she realizes her magic resistance is useless against whatever's crashing down on them. Levin's frozen in place, trembling like crazy. He can't wrap his head around it, because someone is actually crushing him like this. He was already level 90, so he believed no magic in the world could seal him. Right as the dust finally starts to calm, a chill voice snaps through the air and cuts the group off. When Lilium pops up right in front of Wish, she snaps that the heroes finally crossed the line. This time, they've truly done it. Seething with pure fury, she couldn't believe they'd dare mess with one of her own. She thrusts out her hand and rips into them, shouting what the hell they think they're doing. The ice surges in at lightning speed, slamming shut and trapping Levin's arm solidly, while Lilium stands right in the middle of a raging frost storm. Levin's losing his mind, demanding to know who this woman even is, while Wish snaps her head up, because she recognizes her instantly. Everyone's frozen in disbelief, staring straight at the person right there. Like, is that really the legendary demon? But Lilium doesn't mess around. She makes it crystal clear. If anyone dares to hurt her people, they're paying for it. She's had it, she tells the heroes' party they've officially crossed the line, and you can practically hear the final straw snap. Then a massive blast of ice magic erupts, shards tear through the air, and the heroes get pinned in its deadly freeze. Garius crashes to the ground with a brutal thud, pinned there. He can't even twitch, the freezing pressure crushing every ounce of strength from him. Levin's whole body is trembling as he blurts out, "What kind of insane, bone-chilling magic is doing this to us?" Pal's smile vanishes as her face turns ghost white, because she just realized this is the abyss ice Lilium everyone's been whispering about, and Noel clutches the past in her mind, and then it clicks. This demon general is the very one who unleashed that brutal assault on the capital. Mage Pal is trembling like a leaf, blurting out, "Wait, are you seriously telling me she's the strongest lady executive in the Demon Lord's army?" Garius is losing it too, screaming that this has to be a sick joke, while 11 glares at Lilium, snarling, "Why are you, of all people, a total monster, so close to a place like this?" Then he freezes for a split second, like a weird thought suddenly yanks the wheel, and he snaps, "Wait." She remembered that last huge war, where she never even showed her face, and how she bolted so fast that it let him fit in. She probably isn't even as deadly in real combat as her hype makes her seem. He starts wondering if she's nothing but smoke and spells, no real talent at all. Then, dropping her right here should feel like an easy win, like a total cakewalk. A nasty grimace spreads across his face as he decides to destroy her first, then drag out her suffering slow and sweet. But Lilium just stares at him like he's trash and snarls that he reeks of a total loser. Lilium gets slammed by a massive blasts her body through the air like a meteor, while 11 barrels through the smoke and wreckage, jaw clenched as he forces himself to keep moving. Garius yells at Levin to watch out, while on the side, those wishes lie in the dirt, groaning and clutching their hurt after the left hit. Levin glares at the demon girl and snarls that there's a cruel person's stench all over her. Lilium simply shrugs off the insult, her mind flashing back to the demon lord's army, where the other leaders treated her like absolute garbage. She snaps her gaze upward, fury blazing, screaming at everyone to stop treating her like a joke right now. Massive ice spikes slam through the buildings, shattering everything in their path. She fumes that even the thought of those guys sends her blood surging. Wish is stuck on the sidelines, and then it clicks. She's finally using her ice magic the right way, and it's landing perfectly. He can't stop staring at her, and then, right in the middle of it, something finally clicks, and it feels totally off. Wish freezes at the status screen, staring in disbelief, because former Demon King is right there, staring back at him, and he can't believe it. And Lilium snaps, clutching her head as she screams the words back, still in total disbelief. Levin blurts out that she's the Demon King, and Garius just freezes there, stunned like, is this really happening? Lilium flashes a shy grin and asks if she forgot to bring it up, and Wish instantly snaps that he definitely never heard a single word about it. But she just shrugs it off with a laugh, telling him it's all good, because it's ancient history anyway. She swears she's having a blast now, so everyone should just stop caring, while Wish sits there looking completely wiped out by her logic. He lets out a heavy sigh, staring at her stats like they're exploding, because they're not just high, they're way higher than before. Lilium kept boasting about a magic pool she found to refill her energy. Then, right as she was talking, Levin finally cracks and explodes, yelling at them to snap out of it and lock in. He's drowning in panic, screaming that after all that travel, they're only doing this to drag their old friend back home. Levin snaps with pure frustration, telling Wish that he's done and there's no place for him here anymore, while Garius just stands there and watches. Lilium can't stop laughing at the idea that they're comrades, and she blurts out, "Levin, are you actually serious?" Levin shoots back at her, furious, demanding to know why it even matters, like friendship in the past means nothing. Lilium cuts him off on the spot, basically telling him, "You're done, Wish is one of us now," and she makes it painfully clear, nobody on his side was invited to show up in the first place. She taunts Levin, sneering, "Did you already forget what it's like to be frozen solid?" And the words knock the wind out of him completely. Speechless and trembling, he can only stare as Wish watches the whole brutal confrontation unfold right in front of his eyes. Wish finally snaps up the courage, shouting Levin's name to grab his attention, because this ends right now. He tells them, "If my actions lately have messed things up for the group, I'm truly sorry." But then he drops the bombshell. He's got zero plans to ever step back into their party, not matter what they throw at him. Wish tilts his gaze to the heavens, serious as stone, and whispers, "I finally found what I've been chasing." He stands right in the middle of the village while everyone stares, and he tells Levin, "This is where I truly belong." He locks eyes with Levin and lets him have it, because deep down, it's clear the real regret is going to hit the one who started all of this. But Levin is snapping, sweat pouring down his face as he yells back that he'll be the one to make Wish regret ever leaving their group. Lilium lunges in to stop Levin mid, tough guy act, and right when things go sideways, Wish just turns away from the whole mess, like he didn't even care. With a confident smile, he tells them, "If a fight ever breaks out, I'll be more than happy to face you." He makes it crystal clear he won't face this solo either. His new comrades will be standing right there beside him. The moment the scene flips, a colossal dragon-like beast bursts into the sky, tearing through the air on powerful wings. And that massive creature stares down with one huge eye, wondering if it was really smart to let those guys slip away like that. Wish just kicks back, relaxed as ever, and tells the dragon, "Sure, you're a total headache, but you're still part of the hero's party, so don't forget that." Wish tells the crew he totally understands why they're frozen in shock, and Milfina just snaps, fully losing it. Gazing up at the colossal dragon floating in the sky, she throws her mouth wide open, just soaking in the wild view. Noah looks completely rattled, and he blurts how wild it is that they were just drifting through the woods, while all this chaos was happening. But Wish just grins at her, tells her it's a blessing they never got tangled in it, and says he's only relieved that everyone's safe. Milfina suddenly blares out "Wish," like a war cry, slams her hand toward the horizon and yanks him back from the haze, because she finally locks onto where they're going and blurts out to everyone that their destination is right there, staring them in the face. Astrian's capital finally bursts into view. Massive, roaring with power, its towering stone walls and sky-high castle towers dominating the horizon. Once they get closer to the city buildings, Milfina throws out this massive stretch and a satisfied side chirp, like she's finally home. By cheering like crazy that the refrigerator business negotiations went perfectly, and then they noticed Wish staring back, finally looking totally relieved. Then he drops the best news. They even pulled off a solid distribution route, so they can finally start selling their goods for real soon. Milfuna is buzzing with excitement, it's finally time, and Wish just keeps nodding along. But the mood flips the second a girl, lugging a basket, careens into a guy. Bam! Right in the collision zone. She sends fruit flying in every direction. Panic slams into her, and she's blurting apologies as she scrambles to snatch everything back up, which snaps Wish's attention. He locks eyes with her like they've met before, while Noah just stands there utterly lost, and Wish starts spiraling back into the memories of how it all used to be for him. He still remembers the exact day he tore himself out of the city and struck out on his own path. He still can't stop thinking about the way he used to roam these same streets alone, like the whole world was waiting right there for him. But now everything's different. He finally realizes he's not alone anymore, because his reliable friends are standing right there with him. He tells himself no one should have to endure garbage treatment, and he insists there isn't just one right way to live. So he drops down beside her and helps her scoop up her fruit, pure, no-strings kindness. The girl snaps her gaze off the ground, completely frozen in shock, and when she finally spots who's standing there, the words choke in her throat because she realizes it. It's a Wish, and he shoots his hand out toward her. He tells her that if life, or even where she is right now, feels too brutal to keep living through, then she doesn't have to stay. He flashes a warm smile and asks if she wants to ride with them instead.